Welcome to Major League Baseball 2023 on ESPN. We are in Roger Dean Stadium to kick off the spring training season. St. Louis Cardinals and their fans used to winning. They've done that for 15 straight years. The New York Mets, well, they won 101 games last year. It is the first of 4 spring training games. And this is an historic baseball season with the rule changes. We got Eduardo Perez, David Cohn, Buster Olney. I'm Carl Ravitch. Welcome. It's baseball again. You can see it. There's a refreshing, kind of familiar feel, which has been missing the last couple of years. And then all of a sudden, that big wrinkle comes in, the rules. That's the overarching sort of theme going in, isn't it, Coney?
We just have to talk about it, right? A little bit today, maybe just a little bit. For almost 150 years, no clock in baseball.
Right.
That's no longer the case, Eduardo. We got a clock in baseball now.
Yeah, it's old school baseball no more. My grandfather always used to tell me, this is the beauty of the game, unlike any other sport. Well, it's no longer that.
We'll get into all the rules a little bit later. Let's start with the teams that are going to be on the field. The New York Mets and the huge expectations. Steve Cohen, of course, with a payroll over $300 million. The offseason activity, let's bring the center fielder back. Big bucks. Edwin Diaz, the closer, gets 5 years and $100+ million. Adam Ottavino also returns. Hello, Justin Verlander, a Cy Young winner, now a teammate of Max Scherzer, and we can't wait to see what Kodai Senga will bring to the table. Narvaez is a catcher. Quintana will be in the starting rotation. Tommy Pham adds an edge, and you got Danny Mendick and David Robertson as well. It's the Yankees, it's the Mets, it's the two-team city, with both hoping to someday play in the World Series in October. What has Steve Cohen done to change the expectations and dynamic?
Well, it's keep up or get left behind, right? I mean, if you're a Mets fan, you're loving it. The budget-busting thing going on in Queens is just amazing. Once again, you lose DeGrom, you bring in Verlander. I mean, there are no holds bar for the Mets right now.
All right, so they're doing it one way. The Cardinals do it the Cardinal way. We've known about this for a long time. This is a very young team that relies on the two pieces on the corner, and it's an evolving team because no longer is Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina wearing the Cardinal uniform. Yes, they've added Wilson Contreras, and that is a huge addition. He's fit in beautifully so far. They bring Adam Wainwright back for one more run at it. Last time they won the World Series, guys, of course, was 2011. There's a really good chance they're going to win again this season and be a division champion. What's the keys for them to take it to the next step and win a series?
Stay healthy the entire season because they play great defense both in the infield and the outfield. Arenado and Goldschmidt are the leaders of this team. But Wilson Contreras is going to be a big part offensively. And if he can get better defensively and the Cardinals have a method to be able to get their catchers to be really good, guess what? This team should win easily this division.
Well, we'll see. The Brewers will have something to say about that and the rest of the National League Central. We'll talk all about the teams around Major League Baseball, but we'll dive deep into the rules and you at home and you in the ballpark, what you'll see in 2023. So this became a story last time that C.B. Bucknor was an umpire and Ollie Marmol, the manager of the Cardinals, right there shaking the hand of C.B. Bucknor. Well, the last time they met, there was a lack of a handshake. Marmol extended. Bucknor said, I don't have nothing to do with that. Today, apparently they mend fences and were able to shake hands like adults in the room. Let's get to the rule changes that everybody's going to see this season. And the big one, which has drawn most of the attention to start the season, the pitch timer. 20 seconds, no runner on for the pitcher to go into his delivery, 15 seconds with no runners on. So man on 20, nobody on 15 seconds. And there's obligations for the catcher and the hitter, which we'll talk about. There is a disengagement limit, meaning the pitcher has to only throw over twice. And if he throws a third time and doesn't get a guy out, it's considered a balk. So we will not see the step-offs and the number of pickoff attempts that we have seen in the past. Also, shift restrictions, and this is a big one. Yes, the shortstop can move towards second base, but he can't cross over to the second base side, and nor can the second baseman cross over to the shortstop side. So 2 infielders on each side, and of course the bases are a little bit bigger. It all leads to speculation that this is a more offensive game. The pace is going to be a little bit quicker. And I know these guys and everybody's become somewhat of a rule expert, but it's not that easy, and there's a lot of nuance going on here, especially as we start.
Well, yeah, stay tuned. I mean, we're all sort of feeling our way around these new rules, but the one thing that is for sure a lot of the dead time is cut out, and that's probably a good thing in the long run.
Yeah.
And one of the other things you have to look at is the offensive player is now going to actually be on the defensive side of it. The pitcher is going to control more of the game, what they can do with trying to get hitters out of their comfort zone. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, a little strategy buster only, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. Early days in spring training, Carl, are about trying to find the smallest advantages in these new rules. Max Scherzer talking about pitchers dictating the pace. You've heard hitters talk about maybe saving that timeout for the 3-2 count, freezing the pitchers, and with limited throws to first base. In spring training so far, we've seen a lot of teams run on the first pitch.
And we'll see. You get some speed on both of these teams for sure. Tommy Edman with the Cardinals. He could steal 40, 50 bases. And, of course, the Mets are hoping to use Francisco Lindor and other great speed. Here's the lineup that Buck Showalter has with him today. It'll be Tim LeCastro leading things off. Of course, Pete Alonso, the first baseman, will bat third. Mark Vientos, Thomas Nido. Francisco Alvarez gets his first spring training start. He's a designated hitter. On the mound for the Cardinals today is Connor Thomas. He's a lefty. He is vying for a reliever's role. And if not, he'll likely be a very strong AAA starter. He developed a cutter that really punctuated his success in the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah, and one thing that he has always been able to throw is that two-seamer, changeup, slider, but developing the cutter could be the equalizer for right-handed hitters.
All right, so here we go, and this is going to be the pace. And the first pitch is swung at, and that's LeCastro sending it into left field. So Connor Thomas will now have 20 seconds on the clock from when he gets the baseball back. And the clock has begun on him already.
And because you don't see the shift as much now, you're going to see a lot more holes be hit between the 5-6 hole and the 3-4 hole in the infield. And we've talked to a lot of hitters about the ball up the middle.
Lewis Gourmet will be the shortstop today for the Mets. He bats second. Thomas will look over at LeCastro, and the first pitch he throws is an attempted bunt, and that's ball one. Just want to set the defense for the Cardinals. Brendan Donovan's at third. Mason Wynn, they believe a future star, is at shortstop today. Nolan Gorman is at second. Goldschmidt is at first. In the outfield, Moises Gomez, all sorts of pop in left field. Lars Nootbaar in center, and Dylan Carlson is in right. Got to begin that delivery with 8 seconds on the clock, and this one up the middle should be 2. Nice flip from Gorman to Wynn for a double play.
Nice little backhand flip.
Huh?
Well done, huh, and Walter? Right up the middle. Just a little glove flip. Easily done. Made it look easy. That was not that easy.
Tell you what, great reaction by Wynn. Doesn't really get to see the ball well out of the glove of Gorman. Keeps his hands tight to his body.
Here's Alonso. First pitch, little cutter that misses inside 1-0. So again, ball back to the pitcher, 20 on the clock. Catcher's got to be ready at 9 seconds, and Alonso has to engage the pitcher with 8 seconds. And that one misses down. 2 balls, no strikes. 15 seconds on the clock with no runners on. And you get a chance to see it. And we will not focus on this for very long, but it's certainly something that's changed at the ballparks, and everybody that comes to the game will see clocks in the ballpark.
You know who's got to change too? Broadcasters. We got to land the plane, Carl. We got no time.
Quick.
In and out.
It's quick. The average length of game has been somewhere between 235, 245. A couple of stretch past 3 hours. The next one to Alonso, that's high. 4 pitches and a walk. All right, so Coney, you're a pitcher. How difficult is this adjustment? Is it hard? Is it not?
I would think not. For the majority of pitchers, they will adjust quickly. And as we saw in our pregame with Max Scherzer, that eventually you could use it as a weapon, especially with men on first base or runners on. You've got 20 seconds. Once the hitter's in the box, you can make them wait a little bit.
There's some gamesmanship as Abraham Almonte looks at strike 1. So runner on, 20 seconds to start. 30 between batters. Think about walk-up song, etc. And that's fouled off.
You know, it goes back to Ray Miller with the Orioles, a famous pitching coach who talked about work fast, throw strikes, change speeds. Pitchers have always been taught to work quickly. It helps you, helps your defenders, keeps everybody on their toes. You actually get more strikes from the umpires called that way as well.
The game of cat and mouse between hitter and pitcher. You perhaps saw Max Scherzer as this one is blooped into left field. It's going to get down. And Alonso will head to third base. The brakes are put on there by third base coach Joey Cora, and a single for Abraham Almonte.
And that was a cutter right there where it got into his hands, and he was able to just keep his hands inside and keep it fair. This is a part of spring training. You know, you want to see your players go first to third, take it easy. It's exactly what Alonso's doing there. He's getting himself ready also for the World Baseball Classic. So it's a little bit of a fast tune, you could say, for Pete Alonso.
This is Mark Vientos. He's the third baseman. And that one is up to the shortstop side. Donovan's throw. No, safe. Goldschmidt couldn't get the tag on Vientos. Alonso scores, and it's 1-0. So interesting. Gorman comes across the bag instead of Mason Wynn, the shortstop, to make that play.
Yeah, it looks like the good old times, right? He's playing a little bit up the middle, sees it. He's the only one that had a play on this one. I love the fact that Paul Goldschmidt understands, look, this is spring training. Get out front, get the ball, and just get that hand glove out of the way to not create any type of collision.
That's very aggressive early in this one. And that first pitch in there to Thomas Nido for strike one.
You know, that was kind of an example what Major League Baseball wants, to show more athleticism.
Yep.
Rather than a ground ball hit right at a guy in the shift. You got to move, you got to make a play.
And the Cardinals are very athletic with Gorman, Donovan. Their outfielders today, it's Lars Nootbaar, Dylan Carlson moved over to right. Keep hearing about Tyler O'Neill in center field. And Eduardo, I thought Tyler O'Neill kind of backed off the weightlifting. There is zero indication that that happened. He is ripped. High hopper to third, and the force play at third from Brendan Donovan will do it. The Mets get one. We went through a half inning without any rule violations. Cardinals coming to the plate when we come. Spring training baseball, Carl Ravitch, David Cohn, Eduardo Perez getting ready for another season in the Sunday night booth. Buster Olney, of course, will join us as well as we take a look at the Cardinals lineup, third in the National League last year with an OPS of 745, and they were top 5 in home runs. Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Gorman. Alda Young, who has changed a little bit his approach to the plate, which we'll get into. Dylan Carlson hopes to bounce back this season. Big-time power from Moises Gomez and all sorts of promise for the shortstop, Mason Wynn. And on the mound, David Peterson. Last season, 28 games in the area of 383. Mets feel very comfortable with their starting rotation, but as you know, and everyone else in baseball, you can never have enough starting pitching.
No, they need him to be a starter. They need him stretched out to provide insurance either at the back end of the rotation or first in line.
High lefty on left, Donovan. First pitch, strike one. Third baseman Vientos is definitely shaded towards shortstop, and that one is slapped the other way. You know, there will be movement on the infield. There's no question about it. I mean, this is clearly a left-handed hitter, so both Vientos and Guillorme are shaded towards second. But no more is the third baseman over in shallow right field. And this one is right at Jose Peraza. Former Yankee throws to Alonso for the out.
I think a question I have, Carl and Eduardo, is will we see left fielders come in against certain hitters, say an Anthony Rizzo or a big left-handed pull hitter? Will you take that chance and the risk reward of bringing the left fielder over to play in the sort of the short right field position that we saw on the shift last year?
I believe the answer is yes. I think they're still going to look at the numbers, especially against predominant sinker ball pitchers.
Lars Nootbaar next up, swings at the first one and pops that up. And a fan here in Jupiter at Roger Dean's going to get themselves a baseball to take home with them.
This is the last game for Lars Nootbaar before he heads out to Japan. He'll be representing Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic. His mom from Japan only would yell at him in Japanese when he did something wrong.
It's a big deal, isn't it, for him to go over there and play for Japan, especially in Japan.
It's huge for his mom. It's huge for him as well. But I asked him, I said, so how much Japanese do you know? He goes, only when my mom yelled at me.
Nootbaar has got big power, 14 home runs with the Cardinals last year. He played 108 games for them. He's 25 years old, will turn 26 in September. So Jose Peraza has to have the heels on the dirt. You can see how close he is to the outfield grass. Good pitch there from Peterson to Nootbaar. Gone on strikes. And here comes the MVP, Paul Goldschmidt, as you take a look at Peterson's nasty breaking pitch.
Slider down and away on the black. Works every time, lefty on lefty.
Peterson has thrown 7 pitches, all strikes. And the first one to Goldschmidt. A little high above the letters, 1-0. For a while, it felt like Goldschmidt would always be the bridesmaid when it comes to the MVP. Until he broke through last year on a year in which a lot of folks figured the guy at third base was the MVP, or Arenado.
Carl, there's so much respect between both Nolan and Paul. I mean, they do a lot of things. They communicate with each other real well. Their lockers are next to each other. They're definitely the leaders of this ball club right now.
Slow roller, Peterson fields, jumps, fires, and in time, holding the bag was Pete Alonso. Goldschmidt retired. Very good inning for David Peterson.
Pitcher, anathema. Go get it. Make your pitching coach proud.
Set for the second. Paul Goldschmidt's wearing a microphone and an earpiece, and we appreciate that. He joins us now as Alvarez looks at ball one. Did you think Peterson was going to make that play and you had to run down to bases like that?
I was just pissed that I took that bad swing 3-0.
There weren't a lot of bad swings last year as Alvarez fouls that off with your MVP season. I'm curious, what does an MVP do to even get better in the offseason?
I mean, I think you try to look at the things you did right and try to, do those again and look for ways to improve. I just sat down with all the coaches and we kind of talked over the season, the good or bad, and kind of came up with a game plan and, try to go out there and perform this year.
Yeah.
Paul, but if you're going to take a bad swing like that, spring training is the place to do it, right, on 3-0?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're still competitors, though. I still don't like it, but yeah, I'd rather do that now than during the regular season, but oh well.
Cody, I read you gave a lot of credit to Nolan Arenado for your success. For people at home who haven't heard about that dynamic, share it with us.
He's one of my best friends, and we're talking basically every at bat, definitely before games, after games. We think about hitting the same way. We think about baseball the same way. So to have someone, that you can go to and talk to is huge. And we had a lot of guys on the team like that, but especially me and Nolan.
Yep, 3-2. Alvarez swings and misses. Strikeout there for Thomas. Well, how do you think about hitting it? We'd all love to know how such great hitters think about hitting. What do you think about?
Yeah, I think number one, keep it simple. See the ball and hit the ball. That's the most important thing. But there's guys just think about it a little differently. We for sure think about using our lower half more than our hands. There's some guys that really think about their hands, some guys that really like to think about their lower half. And so I think just the feels that we have in our swing are similar. And so we kind of speak the same language.
You're an interesting guy here. You got a first base bag that's bigger. You're dealing with the pitch clock and a timer, et cetera, et cetera. A pitcher that would throw over. What's your initial impression of all the rule changes?
I think the bases are probably the least impactful. Maybe stealing. We get a little shorter distance, but I didn't even notice the first day. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a new bag. The shifting. We've all played baseball without shifts. I just think the pitch clock is going to take some getting used to. Foul.
Nice call. Nice call.
Is that a call or a hope?
That's a hope. That was a beg. But now I got to move over. The pitch clock, you think about spring training, you're just trying to do so many things, plus you're trying to adjust, but we got to work on it now. It's just a little different. And
outside corner, good one there from Thomas. He strikes out Alvarez and now Jose Peraza.
I do think long-term it's going to be nice. I just think, it's going to take some getting used to. You're going to see some stuff we haven't seen, but long-term everyone's going to figure it out.
Have you had to change at the plate your routine? or no?
Nah, I was already pretty quick. I feel like I was waiting on the pitcher most of the time anyways. I feel like after the first game, I almost told myself, don't even think about it, just because, you know, you see the clock count down, you start to think about it instead of like, man, I just got to worry about my approach.
Outside of Cedrola. So we heard Max Scherzer sort of claim that he now will dictate all the pace. The pitcher has an advantage. I understand you may not think that way, but do you think pitchers, this weights a little bit towards them?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't really think about it. I mean, I just think we're just going to adapt. I'll get in the box and be ready to hit. And, you know, I know Max, he's a very confident pitcher, and as hitters, we got to be confident too. So we'll trick ourselves,
right.
You know, even if we're wrong, even if it's bad for us, we'll tell us it's good. So who knows what's going to happen.
Cedrola sends one right back up the middle. How excited are you for the WBC, Paul?
Oh, yeah, I'm very excited. I mean,
yeah.
I basically begged to get on the team after 2017. Luckily had a good year last year. You know, gave me some credit to get on there with Pete over there on the Mets. So excited to play with him and all the guys.
Have you guys started like a chat or anything like that for Team USA?
No, we haven't. You know, it happens pretty quickly. We get together, there's only 3 or 4 days.
Well, Castro rips this one down the line in left, and it is towards the line. It's going to be foul.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's weird. You think about it. There's all this build-up to Team USA, and then we get together, and 3 or 4 days later, there's a game. But, you know, we figure it out pretty quickly, and, you know, it's not that hard. You just go out there and play baseball. We've been doing it our whole lives.
Well, Paulie, you and Nolan Arenado are sort of the leaders of this team with Adam Wainwright, and of course Yadier Molina and Pujols are gone. What's it been like with Wilson Contreras, and what's your impression about what John Mozeliak and company did in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to have Willie. I mean, I've competed against him for a long time. He's tough back there behind the plate, tough out at the plate, and you know, he's great. He brings a lot of energy, and you know, I've seen his quotes. He wanted to be here.
Yes.
So I think that speaks a lot. You know, you want guys to come in and be excited, and we're glad he is. But besides that, we got a lot of our same guys, and you know, we came up short last year. So we're looking to improve on that, just find a way to get in the playoffs and hopefully play well.
All right, so 2 men on. Here's Luis Guillorme as Paul Goldschmidt, the MVP, joining us at first base.
I got a question stylistically for Goldie. Goldie, have you ever seen Paul Molitor hit, or have you ever seen videos of Joe DiMaggio hit? And have you heard those comparisons to your style?
No, those are some great comparisons. I'll take those all day. So, no, I haven't, but obviously those guys were 2 of the best hitters to ever play and can do a lot of great things. So, you know, I'll take that compliment.
It just seemed like, you know, both of those guys were very quiet with their lower half, almost a nose stride approach. And you just kind of looks like you lift up your heel a little bit and then drop it down. And your timing mechanism and the style seems to be similar to those 2 great Hall of Famers.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think really mechanically the biggest thing is try to keep it simple, get in a good position to hit on time, and, you know, that hopefully will allow me to be consistent. So this game's hard. I still lose my timing plenty, like, you know, last at bat and swing at balls and all that, but just trying to take as much as the movement out and like I said, just try to be consistent. That's the whole idea behind what I'm trying to do. But, you know, the downside of that is you can get stale in the box when you don't have much movement. You know, I can lose that rhythm. So just like everything in life, there's good and bad, and just trying to find that balance.
Paul, you love golf. You love to watch it. How's your golf game going?
There you go. It's all right. It's good enough to go play. So that was kind of my goal a couple years ago, to get good enough that, you know, if I get asked to go play a nice course, I can do it and not embarrass myself. And I don't know, I just try to have fun out there, enjoy my time away from the baseball field.
3-2 pitch to Guillorme, 2 on, and that one is up the middle, and that's going to get through into center field. Going to bring in Cedrola, and it's first and third after Guillorme drives in the second run for the Mets.
And this is right in line with what Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, wanted: more action. And, you know, by not having the shift, by not having players be on one side, we're going to see a lot more of this. Base hits up the middle. Got to pick your poison here.
That's what they're saying in my ear right now.
Pete, please hit it outside off the room.
You've got a very funny guy standing next to you there.
Be careful, they picked that up. Maybe he wants that.
So Luis Gourmet down there at first base next to Paul Goldschmidt. Hey, Goldie, so the whole golf thing, bringing it back to baseball, one of the things that has happened lately is the same way that pro golfers will go and get club fitted, it feels like baseball players are getting bat fitted. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best comparison. You know, down the guys at Marucci,
yeah,
what they did, they took some guys that were working in the golf space and golf club fitting, and they had an idea probably about 8 or 10 years ago and said, can we do this for baseball? So it's been a work in progress, but definitely within the last 3 years it's picked up steam, and I mean, just makes so much sense. So, you know, there's a lot of technology now and a lot of information, and you know, I was able to go down there a couple off seasons ago and do it, and my bat wasn't too far off, but we were able to, you know, make a few tweaks that they thought would help me, and you know, last year it paid off.
Well, here comes Pete Alonso off another massive season, and the first pitch a little high. Now, one thing about golfers, they tinker, man. I mean, you of course watch Tiger Woods at his peak, and then all of a sudden he decided to maybe change a little thing. It happens to all of them. Are you a tinkerer?
I would say no.
Okay.
But also, you watched Tiger putt a couple weeks ago. He's got that same putter he's used his whole life. So,
yeah,
you know, as much as you're tinkering, you know, guys stay consistent too. So I think the results in the game will show you when you need to make an adjustment. You know, that's one great thing about golf and baseball and really sports in general is the scoreboard doesn't lie. I mean, you can look up and see your batting average, see the stats, and, you know, you can think you're doing well. But, you know, even with the advanced stats now that kind of take the results out of it, they can be very honest about if you need to improve or if you should keep doing what you're doing.
Well, Gilmer is at first. LeCastro is halfway down the line at third base, and Alonso fouls one off at the plate.
Well, who would you want to see as a golf player mic'd up while he's doing a round?
Well, I mean, the best. You want to see Tiger. So I don't know. He's so locked in. He might not say anything. But, you know, I told you the other day, saw Max Homa do it and then win at Torrey Pines about a month ago. So that kind of convinced me to put it on today.
Well, thank you very much. And we'll give a shout out to Max Homa. If it convinced you to do this, we're grateful. Thanks very much, Goldie. Take care.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Mets get a couple. It's 2-0.
Gotta get a shot of this side of my head right here, this little lightning bolt. You see that?
Yes. What do you got going there?
Yeah. So, took my son to get a haircut yesterday. He said, Daddy, will you please get a lightning bolt in your head like me? I said, yeah, buddy. Let's do it.
Nice.
Nobody will ever see it.
This ball driven straight away center field. The wind keeps it in the ballpark. And just like that, there is one man down as Nolan Gorman led things off with a shot to center field. We came back from break listening to Adam Wainwright from last year talking about the haircut that his son got him. One of the highlights of Sunday Night Baseball actually came in light of a rain delay when you wore the microphone and you and Coney got into a great conversation. You're doing it again. No threat of rain. Thanks for joining us, Wayno.
No threat of rain, but I am getting rained sunflower seeds on top of me right now. Because your worker told him I had an interview in game. Sheesh.
Broke the Cardinals sin. He let everybody know on the bench that Wainwright was going to put a headset on, and that was the end of that.
Water on me. Yeah. So it is raining.
All respect.
What
all
can
respect.
You do?
Well, you can deal with pitch clocks and bigger bases. You can deal with a couple of sunflower seeds.
I know. I mean, you know, how many years does it take, though, you know, to have some respect around here, huh? Tell you I get no respect.
Hey, you can warm up live on national TV. You can do anything.
That's right.
Before a big league Wago.
Yeah, Eduardo came to me mid game or mid. Was that during the rain delay? You did that?
No, the day before.
Was it the day before? Yeah, that's right. It was the day before. And my first thought was to say, heck no, I'm not going to mic up and talk to you while I'm warming up. What in the world are you talking about? And then here's where some just kind of maybe wiser older player came in. I thought, you know what? This is going to be about the biggest platform I could have as a baseball player with this incredible organization, talking to these incredible guys. And I just know coaches and players from around the country and maybe even the world, I don't know, are going to be tuned in, and it might be a great learning thing. You know, I've learned a lot from people who are much smarter than me and played the game at a higher level than me, and I love teaching those kinds of things to people.
Yeah, which was great because that was your thought going in. And what was the feedback coming out of it? Was it exactly what you had hoped it would be?
Yeah, and you know, and the other thing that I knew I needed to pitch well, because you know, if I go out there and I'm like, all right, kids, do it this way, and then I go out there and give up 6 runs in 2 innings, then you know, who wants to listen to that guy? So I knew the pressure was on, and I respond well to those situations, thankfully. But it was the reaction was even better than I had hoped for, honestly. It was coaches and players from around the country tweeting me, and people who I knew growing up, and people who are coaches back home, and players on high school teams back home texting me and saying, "Man, that was great, dude. Thank you for that." And that made me feel really good about it. You know,
Yeah.
The whole time I was pitching during the game, I was thinking, "Gosh, I really hope that went over like I hope it did." You know, I'm just trying to help people, just like these young guys on the team here. We just want to see people succeed at a higher level, and however I can help do that is great.
Well, it worked, and I know we all know how influential your family is, your wife Jenny, etc. Like, how do they feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my wife's always very supportive of things I want to do, but she was questioning me a little bit at the beginning because I'm so locked in serious on days I'm pitching.
Yeah.
You know, that's a no-fly zone usually for me. Don't talk to me about interviews. Don't talk to me about anything else. Get out of my way. I don't want you near my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, give me some space, you know. I'm sitting in my locker. I don't want you walking in front of me. Like, you know what I mean? I don't mean to be that way, but that's how I am, and I'm right on the edge. You know, I've learned to control it a little bit, but I'm right on the edge of getting angry without getting angry, so I can control that. And I walk around with that. Leading up, it starts a little bit less, but as the day goes, it builds and builds and builds. And as I get closer to game time, you know, it's at its height. So that's usually no-fly zone, but I really felt like that was an important thing.
All right.
Well, you said in that conversation with Coney, you said, look, the game can't start without me. I've got the ball. Well, right now we're on a time. And how has that changed, and how have you seen it so far?
Yeah, it can start without you now. Yeah. It'll start without you, and it'll be 3-0 before you throw a pitch if you don't watch out. No, I'll tell you, it's quick. It's quick, and I don't mean once the at-bat started, because I like working quick anyways, and so that hasn't bothered me at all. The thing that really caught me off guard was between innings and between batters. So between innings, do we need to talk about this next half?
Well, can you wrap it up in 20 seconds?
Okay, yeah. I'm not invited back. Got it. I like to take my time. Between batters and going out there so that I get my mind and my body in the right place to succeed. But now, man, you got to be ready to play right away.
You're the best. Landing the plane. Adam Wainwright. Thank you, buddy.
Best.
Buck Showalter joins us now as Andre Piante into the game. First pitch swing from Abraham Almonte, and it's fouled off there at the plate, so 0-1. Mr. Showalter, how are things going? You've been in this game for a long time. It's a new game. How are you dealing with some of these changes?
It's a new old game, Carl. You still, you know, more things change, the more they stay the same. What is it, adapt or die? That's kind of where we all are. It's good for the game. I think it is. I think everybody will like it when it all gets sorted out. The umpires will be the bad guys for about 2 weeks, and everybody will adjust.
Yeah, so what are the conversations with your players? What are the things that they're coming back kind of saying to you, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, there's the tempo and the rhythm of the game is a little different. We thought about, Eric Chavez and I were talking about letting them watch a game from 1978. I think we were talking about it earlier. Just something that makes them realize that the tempo is going to change. And there's a lot of questions. You know, in the front office and MLB is doing a great job of answering those questions. They're very available, and believe me, there's a lot of questions about it. It's just, like players, they just want to know what's coming.
Right.
They don't want to get surprised by anything.
So Coney, who's the deep thinker up here, he right away went.
He is. I had him. He is.
He's a deep
He's one of those guys when you say any questions and he raises his hand, you go, oh, God.
Yes, that one's fouled out. He was the one that raised this possibility.
Oh, this is trick the manager.
No. Of maybe you'd see a left fielder go into that shift position. Is that something you've thought about?
Well, we're fortunate. We have a second baseman plays left field real well, and Jeff McNeil. And, you know, Marte's been telling me for a year and a half that he was a shortstop by trade. So the question is going to be on the other side of the diamond. Would you do it with, say, the right fielder and put him over in the slot? I mean, there's been 2 hits here already that were not hits with the shift. But I think you'll see some things. I think, really? What do you got up there?
It's spring training, Buck.
Letters.
Doesn't matter. It's spring training for us, too. What do you got, Abe? Exactly.
Coney, help him out here. What do you got?
Oh, David's got a strike every time. Okay, don't even ask him.
He yanked it down, that's for sure. The catcher knew he needed a little help.
Remember what umpires used to do when a guy would, what they call now framing? He'd come around and dust off the plate, and it wasn't pretty. We all confuse change with a lack of respect for tradition, guys.
Buck, what do you think is going to be the biggest adjustment for the hitters or pitchers with the new rule changes?
I think the biggest challenge is going to be for the hitters. I really do. This is a different tempo for them, and I think the pitchers will make the adjustment. I think the conditioning of the pitchers is going to come into play. I think the bullpen guys are going to have a different look to them, and you know, there's so many yet to be seen things. I mean, something's going to crop up every day. You know, I'm going to try to keep our AA, AAA guys around as long as I can, our manager and coaches, because they've been a great source, because they've lived this. And, you know, we've been peppering them every day, and they've had some great ideas about things they did. You know, everybody's going to be trying to get a competitive advantage, but I know the league office is going to be very, you know, strong about trying to make sure everybody plays within the rules.
Next one to Mark Vientos. That one is yanked outside. So you have no more Jacob deGrom. You have Justin Verlander. And, of course, he and Scherzer, longtime pitchers in the league who know each other really well. What's the dynamic been this year for the Mets in camp with the new faces?
Well, it's been great. You know, we lost. Oh, boy, come on. We lost almost 10 pitchers off last year's staff. You really look at it, they were impactful. So we had to do some things. And, you know, we lost a lot of people forget about Taijuan Walker, what a solid pitcher he was for us last year. And, of course, Chris Bassett and Jake. And, you know, I think, you know, Singo will be kind of feeling his way around a little bit. There's some unknown there. He's got a chance to be good. I think eventually it will be. But we're excited about the possibility. We think we've improved our bullpen. And I'm anxious to see that with Robertson's add on and bringing Otto back. And Rayleigh was a big add for us. Yeah. You know, you've got to do some things. We're at a point now we're very close to being able to fill a lot of these spots with our own system, and that's exciting for all of us. Oh, boy, let's go.
Yeah, sure, shot to right field. Carlson won't be able to get that. It'll go to the wall, and Nito will head into second with a double.
Come on, Albie.
Hey, Buck, have you decided to figure out what kind of fine you would give any of your players if they miss a bag?
It'd be hard to miss them, isn't it? It's like, you know, it reminded me of, remember the clowns that had the extra large shoes in the circus? First time I saw it, I couldn't believe what a different look it is. And even first basemen have a different feel for it about the width. But no, at this point, with what they're making, fines don't do a whole lot, Eddie.
Francisco Alvarez now at the plate. You talk about power. There's one that is dived by Goldschmidt to first, and he makes the play. Pretty play by Paul Goldschmidt, last year's MVP. That gets Buck Showalter off the hook. As we say thank you to the skipper and best of luck.
That way, Nate. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Buck, very much. We appreciate it. Good play by Goldie. Flashing some gold glove leather.
If it wasn't for the big bag, it looks like the pitcher might have missed the bag.
Yep, that's right. Good call. Spring training schedule rolling on this week as we welcome baseball back. Grapefruit League game between the Astros and Mets in Port St. Lucie at 1 Eastern time tomorrow. Then the Nats and Yankees in Tampa at 1 Eastern. Kevin Brown, Jess Mendoza, Tim Kirk should have the call on those two. We'll round out our coverage. Phillies and the Red Sox in Fort Myers. Noon Eastern time on Thursday. And it is so great to be back doing baseball one more time with a fantastic week of spring training action. Eduardo Perez, David Cohen, Carl Ravitch here, and Ollie Marmol, the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, kind enough to join us right now. How are we doing, Ollie?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing really well. There's a refreshing and almost normalcy to spring training this year, which we obviously haven't experienced in a couple of years. Are you feeling that?
Absolutely.
Ooh, tough hop there.
That's a real tough hop right there. Definitely feeling it. I mean, this year being able to communicate with our players and our staff, being able to reach out, just a lot less surprises coming into camp. You know where everybody's at. There's a lot of communication that took place. So definitely a different feel, a lot more normal, and we definitely welcomed it.
All right, so we get into spring training and you see a lot of guys who many people at home aren't familiar with, but the lineup often is sprinkled with guys who someday could very well impact the major leagues. This kid right here, Mason Wien, is one of those. Can you give the folks at home a scouting report?
Absolutely. One of the most athletic guys on the field right now. What he's able to do defensively is impressive. His arm is impressive. He's going to beat that out. Kid could run. He could really throw. And yesterday, 2 at-bats, 2 really good line drives to the right field side of the. And it was he's showing well.
Okay, so you said the kid can run, and now you have actually a little bit of authority there to see and showcase a little bit of that speed. Would he have the green light here in spring training, or is it more?
Yeah, he does have the green light. We said the first several games, just get your legs under you. If you feel really good, feel free to take it. But most of these guys are going to give it another day or 2 before they start running.
All right, so Connor Gray is the new pitcher for the New York Mets. He was with the Diamondbacks and joined the Mets in 2021. Pitched Syracuse last year. That's one of 3 disengagements he's allowed per base runner. So he can throw over again. And then the 3rd time he throws over, if he were to do that, and he does not get the runner, then that's considered a balk, and the runner goes to second base.
This is the part of the game that I really think is going to have some real strategy behind it. Obviously, the clock is going to speed us up. There's other rules that are coming into play, but this is one that we talked about, and we got our minor league staff together, and because they've experienced these rules before, and kind of wanted to know, how did you guys expose other teams? How did you get exposed? Is there anything that we're not thinking about and how to use this to our advantage? So it was a really good meeting with our minor league staff, some of our minor league players, but I do think this is going to come into play a decent amount.
That one's fouled off. So I've heard from a few people that now that one attempt has been made at first, this is sort of the pitch to go if you're a runner, not after the second one, which seems counterintuitive, but almost like the pitcher doesn't want to use his second one.
And I think that's probably going to be accurate. And the more games we see, we'll start tracking and seeing, ooh.
Yeah, hit well right center field off the bat of Donovan. And out of here.
Pretty good.
Well, I better start breaking this down before he gets there because we have a timer on us as well. And he really got that one. Wind, not a factor on it. And Ollie, your reaction was right on point. Breaking ball, just stayed up. Barrel to ball, hits it out front. Not a lot of movement on the front side, and Brandon Donovan ends up getting all of that.
Man, it's fun when you see these guys. They go into the offseason with something specific that they're wanting to work on, being able to do a little bit more damage pull side while not getting away from his ability to use the whole field and spray it to the backside. And he's done it twice now where he's just really taken a strong swing and got the ball off the ground, and that's a really good one right there.
Sure was. So it's now 2-2 on the scoreboard. That's a real interesting point. The idea that players will work on certain things. You can really pinpoint some of the things they want to work on. And to Donovan's point, and others here, spring training is, Ollie, an audition. You guys have so much depth at so many positions. You're moving some guys around. Share with us some of the thinking about some of the position players with your team.
Yeah, there is a lot of competition. I think every team goes into camp saying that there's competition, but we really are feeling it this year with as many spots are open. The outfield is wide open, and we're going to give everybody a shot to compete. And the reality is competition breeds excellence, and these guys are embracing it and going about it in a really good way. But when you look at the guys going into the offseason, working on specific things, and then coming out here, you can see these guys look different, and it's going to be a fun spring, that's for sure.
Feels to me like Jack Flaherty is a massive X factor on this team, and I saw him smiling a lot earlier today. Tell us about Flaherty and where he's at.
Yeah, he was able to throw a a simulated game on the backfield at 11:05 today, and man, he showed well. We have a guy that over the last couple years ran into some injuries, and it's hard to have the same presence that you normally would have and confidence that you normally show up to the park when your body's not feeling well. But he's feeling strong, he's healthy, he's in a good spot mentally, and what he showed today was that plays all day. So we're looking forward to that as well.
That's great. Some video from earlier today for Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, Ollie, it just feels like, you know, the Cardinals always have had such a great farm system, continuity up through the whole system, but it feels like the guys you have coming up now are ready sooner to play. I mean, something with your background, you've seen it firsthand, but it just seems like the Cardinals are a step ahead of the curve in terms of having minor leaguers ready to play.
I agree with you there, and credit to our minor league system. I was able to come up through it as a player and a coach, and they do a really good job of instilling the fundamentals of the game, but they do a really good job of holding these guys accountable, and that's the difference. Is there's a lot of transparency, regardless of what level you're at, a lot of accountability, and they really hone in on the mental and emotional side of the game, so that when these guys get to the big leagues, they're able to contribute immediately. But we've been fortunate for sure.
All right, so what's Wilson Contreras been like? I mean, he used to hurt you on the other side.
He's been unbelievable. It's so much better having him on this side. We've had several conversations, one of the first one being that I really didn't like seeing him across the way because of what you just mentioned, but having him on our side, man, this is a player that you hate playing against and you absolutely love it when he's on your side. So I think we absolutely nailed it when we talk about replacing Yadi. This is a competitive, just absolute team guy, and he fits in our clubhouse extremely well.
This is Nolan Gorman. Runner is going, and the throw down to second. Not in time.
Hey, that's that speed you were talking about, Eduardo?
That's that speed right there. And even more, let's take it a step further. The 4.5 inches now that is from bag to bag could have helped Goldie right there. He's always been a very good base stealer, but this is a close play at second base. And you can tell that maybe it's a game of inches right here. It was probably a game of centimeters. That was close.
He's a runner. I mean, he's got 12 stolen bases a couple years ago, 7, and his success percentage is very high.
And Ollie, you have a lot of players that are going to go to the World Baseball Classic. How do you get them ready for this?
Their ramp up was a little bit different than normal, and they came in a little further along than they normally would because, I mean, they're going to have to start playing games and really playing 9 innings at a time a lot sooner. So these guys are pros, and the guys that are going, we trust a ton. So it's a great experience for them, but we're not concerned with their ramp up at all at the moment.
Sky high, LeCastro trying to protect his eyes from the sun, and he's able to do that. Hope to talk about Jordan Walker and what he hopes to bring to this team a little later on. Ollie, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
You got it.
Ollie Marmol, the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. Brendan Donovan, ding dong, pitch dead. 2-2 here.
Agents, and so we had a lot of people to replace, and it really turned out well. I'm really excited by this team. Walking around yesterday, I feel incredible vibe here. I think this is the best vibe I've felt since I've started this, being an owner, and so I'm excited. This is a good-looking team. Listen, you know how hard it is to get into the World Series, right? I mean, as we saw last year, right? So the only thing you can do is put yourself in position where good things can happen. You got to make the playoffs. You got to be the team's got to be healthy. It's got to be rested. It's got to be raring to go. And then you let the chips fall where they may. And if you keep putting yourself there, one day we'll get there. Okay? Obviously, I'd love it sooner than later, but I can't control that.
That's Steve Cohen, who took over the team as owner in October of 2020, and he brought in Billy Epler. One of the first things he did to run the on-field part of the New York Mets. All right, and he joins us now, which is really a treat for us. Tell us, so what's it like to work for a billionaire?
Well, I can just tell you that working with Steve is a really rewarding experience. Getting to rap with somebody that thinks in probabilities and really understands that essentially what we're doing with a lot of this is placing bets. And you're hoping that you're getting the the outcome that's that your forecast or that your predictive models are driving you to. But he understands that aspect of the game. So because I think it's by and large what a lot of his day jobs are wrapped around. So
that's a great point. That's a great point, because he speaks your language, and it seems like a little bit more that soundbite we just ran, measured approach about the probability of actually winning the World Series, as opposed to I expect to win one in 3 to 5 years. Like, not so easy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you want to just give yourself opportunities to get there, and I think I like to use some of the outside views, whether it's some of the sports books or Vegas or whatever, to kind of help drive expectations, because they got a lot to lose, right? If they get those numbers wrong, they got a lot to lose there. So when we when we try to digest that and you go into every year, you look at whoever the favorite is, there's still 14, 15, 16% chance of winning the World Series. So when you're trying to just build your opportunities over a long-term time horizon, whether that's a 6-year, 8-year, 10-year time horizon. Look, if we can run in and have 13, 14, 16% chance year in and year out, well, you're kind of putting the odds in your favor eventually over the long haul.
Those percentages definitely went up once you signed Justin Verlander, did they not?
They probably did. Yeah, I would think so. So I tend to
goes. He's at third base. Sorry, Billy.
No, my bad. So I tend to look usually around March 22nd, 25th. That's kind of when those things come out. That's where we go. So we have our own expectations and our own goals. But yeah, I try to look at the outside view to gain perspective.
That's funny. So do you look at other, and you're not going to tell us this, but do you look at other teams and say, well, I think that's low on them, that's about right on them, not just your own team? Do you just look at them that way? Some of our group does that. Yeah. Some of the front office will that can be some water cooler talk, for lack of a better word. Pedrola will come in as the ball gets past the catcher, Herrera, and down to second goes LeCastro.
Yeah, Billy, now, as far as the overall view of the organization and the skill sets that you're looking for, has the rule changes impacted the decision-making long-term? Are you looking for more speed, more athleticism? Obviously there's no shifts, the bases promoting, Major League Baseball promoting the stolen base. I mean, how's that impacted what you look for in terms of procuring new talent?
Kind of on the margins. Players drive value in a number of ways. So if we're just talking about position players here.
Laces this one to left center field. It's got a one-hop the wall. LeCastro is coming in, and he's going to be at second base. Chris Stratton has been wild, and when he's been in the zone, the Mets have hit it hard.
So, like I was saying, that they'll drive value by being productive and being able to play a lot, right? So we'll frame that as productivity and availability. And, will players that, demonstrate more range defensively be at a little bit of a premium? Yeah, they will. Will pitchers that strike more hitters out, less balls in play, less opportunities for balls to go in the 5-6 hole or 4-3 hole? Those things will help drive their value and drive their productivity. So there will be some things that we look at, but one of the things that both with Buck and myself and kind of our upbringing is really a mind for defense. You got to be able to play the position, and we want to be great defensively. We want to be great in the batter's box and starting and relief. You got to be great everywhere to do what you want to do.
I'd love to talk about the guy that's in the batter's box right now, Pete Alonso. He came into camp in great shape, looks great. First game, unbelievable. He'll leave to the World Baseball Classic, but how big is he going to be offensively a part of this team?
He connects a lot of our offense. Whether it's how people pitch, the guys in front of him, he swings with bad intentions, and I mean that in a good way. Pete's trying to put a charge in the ball, but he's also really intelligent when it comes to game state, game situation, run score, runner on base, pitcher. For him to take a 2-1 slider and hit it to right center field or even down the right field line, that's in his bag. And so, love watching this guy compete. Love what he brings. just a joy to be around in a lot of aspects.
And I know Mets fans would like to see him in a uniform for a long time. Is that part of the plan?
I got asked this the other day, and one of the things with Pete that I really appreciate is we'll keep business for the boardroom or for the office or maybe outside of the public view. So.
On another note, then, that's less uncomfortable. You do have veteran pitchers, Verlander and Scherzer, and when you look at the farm system, it's a little light with regards to front line pitching. Is that a focus? How do you develop and build that?
I mean, one of the things that we set out to do this wintertime was, invest in a lot of systems and people. And so bringing in Eric Yeagers to act as a director of pitching for us and just establish a system that connected, Jeremy Hefner was largely part of that interview and kind of signed off on the hiring. But connecting that major league through player development down to Latin America and what's coming in the doors internationally, and also, spending time with our amateur scouting group so that they can really understand, okay, what are our strengths at developing? What are the things that we believe we can enhance? And just building that connectivity. I think that's what really good organizations have done. And I've seen some organizations do that. When you have that connectivity from the major leagues all the way down to that first layer of procurement, where they're acquiring players in the draft, acquiring players internationally. That's what we're trying to build, because that's the only way to get that sustainability, that we ultimately want, down the road.
So the Carlos Correa, obviously he's with another team, but what was that experience like? How would you describe it?
Yes, I still gotta dodge that one a little bit, Carl. Hope you understand, man. Hey, look, by and large here, taking the 10,000-foot view, I think it signals we're always open. We're always looking for talent.
Right.
We're always looking to get better. That's I think we don't really. I haven't really had this saying with Steve, but I think just in the fabric of how he thinks and how we think as an organization, you don't have to be sick to be better, right? And so we're just approaching everything that we do with that kind of mindset.
You went out there, you re-signed Brandon Nimmo, center fielder. You also brought the fences in right center field, a little bit at Citi Field. What was the purpose behind that?
Fan experience. So they're putting a club or a restaurant out there where people can get a little different vantage point of the game. So it was a fan experience thing. And so for us, for some of our hitters, it came in a little over 8 feet. And for some of our pitchers, they were aware of it.
Well said.
Get it on both ends, right? Score more for me, too.
Right.
That's right.
Last one for me. The division is nasty. You and the Phillies combined spent, I think, $820 million plus in the offseason. And we know the way Alex is building the Braves. Does that get you charged up?
It's exciting. You live to be able to compete and watch the best players play, and we have a lot of guys in our in our division that are really strong, and so that's kind of, we're just excited.
Yeah.
When it comes to the prospects, Beatty, Alvarez, where are they, and do they have an opportunity this spring to break north with the team?
Never say never. Brett, Mark playing today. He's actually getting ready to take his at bat right now. But that group of guys, and with Francisco, we're really excited. One of the questions that we had to ask ourselves this wintertime was, look, if we're going to solve for something that we need, at the major league level, what's the best probability for us to solve pitching side or the offensive side? Talking to our major league coaches, talking to our player development staff, talking to our pro scouting, talking to our analytics group, we felt that power was something that we had the highest likelihood of emerging within our system this season. And, if anybody's watched some games early on, some of these kids have put a charge into the baseball already.
All right, you have a Zoom call, I know, but the bases are loaded. Like, do you want to stay and see how this at bat goes?
Yeah, they know I'll be late. They know I'll be showing up in the middle of the inning, so they're all right.
So
nothing like zooming on an iPhone at a baseball game. So whatever, get it done.
But there is a refreshing feel to baseball, isn't it? Like, it feels like it did pre-pandemic, all of those things.
Yeah, it's great. You know, just you know, kind of just being able to get some of that behind us and be able to just operate a little bit more free. That's a good thing.
Now, when you and Buck call each other at god-awful hours, it's not Zoom though, right? We're just going text or regular phone.
We're going text. We're going speaker. Yeah, no, it's not generally a Zoom. So
do you know the latest hour that you and he have spoken?
We're about, you know, regular season. I'm probably climbing in bed between 1 and 2. He's a little bit later than that. So, yeah. You know, so I don't really go to his office early. I don't go to his office before noon.
Right.
You know, it's kind of his door's closed. So, but yes, late hours, no doubt.
You got Tomas Nido on deck. Narvaez, you guys also picked up. How's that dynamic going to work behind the plate?
It seems like it's going to work really well. You know, one of the things that you know we as an organization value is you know, not to beat the drum on defense, but the receiving ability and the game calling ability with the catcher. And Narvaez is somebody that's shown up pretty well with the receiving ability, as well as Tomas, who's, you know, implanted well inside of the top 10. That's a good thing. It's a good thing for our pitchers. And again, maybe one of those things, Tony, like you and I were talking about on the margins, right? If the shift's away, you know, is the receiving helping? Are you allowed to, you know, turn a ball, a borderline pitch into a strike? And, you know, that's something that we believe in, and that can help, you know, that can help on the run prevention side as well.
You know, it's a great point. I think a lot of people know this, but maybe some people who don't, that your connection with Buck Showalter through Gene Stickmichael and then your days in Anaheim as a general manager there. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen from the early days?
Oh, wow.
And you run the clock.
Yeah, no, there's a ton. There's a ton. Too many to go through. But, you know, just how the game evolves. You know, how people, you know, pitch lineups and you know, the positioning side. So all of those things, there's just too many things to think about.
Billy Epler, Vice President, General Manager of the Mets, thanks very much for joining us on the Zoom call. Thanks, buddy. We got college basketball wrapping up the regular season, our final big Monday doubleheader before Champ Week. Carolina on the wrong side of the bubble, according to Joe Lunardi. They get Florida State at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and then number 7, Baylor against Oklahoma State in Stillwater, both games right here on ESPN and the app. One pitch, one out here as we begin the bottom of the 4th inning. It's the New York Mets 4 and the St. Louis Cardinals 2. What'd you guys take from that interview with Billy?
Billy's always been a great guy to talk to, very forthcoming. He's obviously had pretty good experience in what he had in Anaheim, and now to find himself with the Mets, with Buck Showalter, and an owner like Steve Cohen. Got to be a dream job for him right now.
Look, first part of the conversation, you heard a lot about the hedging, a lot of understanding the analytics, and I think this is where the game's at. And when you have an owner that understands that and is actually pushing you to be better and look at things outside the box, Billy Epler, I believe, has become even a better general manager because of it. And it's always good to have open pocketbooks too, right?
Well, he said the right word, predictive, and that's really what modern analytics is all about.
But how
trying
much
to predict what's going to happen.
Exactly. But how much is that different than what the game and the assessment of athletes has always been about? Especially like your futures. You're betting on the future.
Absolutely. It's the same thought process. You just have obviously more information.
Yes.
And more weight behind opinions. And nowadays, if you go into the boardroom, and whether you're a scout or an analyst, you better have backup, because they will call you out. You better back up your theories, and you better have some proof.
Prove it. Buster?
Yeah, and guys, of course, Steve Cohen, in his first years as the Mets owner, there's some question among other owners. Is he just a crazy spender? And the Carlos Correa situation, I think, was instructive for a lot of people in baseball, because the day that they came up with that agreement, $315 million, I talked to a source in the Mets organization who told me, look, if we have the same concerns about his physical exam that the Giants did, then you know what? He's just not going to give him this crazy contract. He's going to go on the information, and that's exactly what happened in the end. The Mets wound up offering Correa half after they saw the medicals.
Take a look at the highest competitive balance tax payrolls and the thresholds that have been established because of Steve Cohen, but they're at 370 this year. And we mentioned all the money they had spent. Shohei Ohtani is hanging out there in the future down the road, and several of those teams that were on that graphic are likely to be involved in the bidding for somebody like Shohei Ohtani.
And it's not as if Steve Cohen isn't playing by the rules. This is the 100%. System that's set up. He's well within the rules of the game, the way they were agreed to.
Big swing and a miss from Moises Gomez. You talk about Jordan Walker and all the power he has in his body and his bat. This is another guy that the course of last season belted 39 homers at both Memphis and Springfield combined. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Some of the conversation that's been going on the periphery because of the fact that Cohen is playing within the rules. Some folks seem to think, even though we just had a new collective bargaining agreement, maybe the rules need to be adjusted again.
Well, not only is the game changing on the field, but how the sport is consumed as well is at a crossroads.
Good inning for Gray. Conversation continues. We're underway. Spring training and loving every minute of it. MLB.TV spring training. You can stream 250 plus spring training games in every Art of Market Live or demand game. Blackout, other restrictions apply. Go to MLB.TV for the details. Sunday night crew of Buster Olney, Eduardo Perez, David Cohn, Carl Ravitch. Watching the Mets and the Cardinals today, our first of 4 spring training games. Jake Walsh is the new pitcher for the Cardinals. Tomas Nido looks at one that's inside. How you feeling, Tony, as we head into 2023, rules aside, just sort of the competitive balance that's out there, the teams that you like?
There are a lot of teams that have a chance to win the World Series this year. And it's going to be really interesting to follow them. And then on up through the trade deadline, maneuvers that can still be made. There's more information than ever before. Organizations being able to evaluate their own talent. I think, as I said before, we're really at a crossroads in terms of where the sport is headed, not only on the field, but how it's consumed off the field in terms of streaming media.
Yep, yeah.
We just showed that advertisement from MLBTV.com, and Rob Manfred recently talked about a day in the future when there's no blackouts anywhere. And to me, that's a good day for the fan eventually. If we can get to that point where no matter where you are in this country or in the world, you could watch what you want to watch.
Well, when you mention, Manfred and where the game is today, hard not to think about an interview I did with him when he first became commissioner in 2015. As Nido gets into this one, center field. Nootbaar going back on the track, and he runs it down. Hit hard by Tomas Nido, but it's caught in center field. But 2 of the things he mentioned 8 years ago were when you asked about rules and changes you'd like to maybe consider. He talked about a pitch clock, and he talked about eliminating shifts. And patience seems to have paid off, because here we are literally 8 years later, and those things are in. It's about as big a shift as you're going to see in baseball. See, Gorman is, say, a couple feet on the second base side of second, but a hit up the middle off the bat of Alvarez would likely be taken away. One of the top prospects in Major League Baseball is Francisco Alvarez, and a shot to right field that sends Carlson back, and he's able to spin and make the catch.
And that was a nice adjustment by Dylan Carlson in right field. Alvarez with a lot of power. That ball pretty much stayed true and straight. Thought he was going to slice it. It did not.
These plays are extremely difficult with a high sky and spring training, no upper deck. Outfielders are making some really tough plays look very easy, as you see, as Eduardo said. Carlson, a nice adjustment.
One of the things the Cardinals have talked about, and we saw Tyler O'Neill earlier today, but perhaps he plays center field. Remember, they traded Harrison Bader to New York. Bader is as good a center fielder defensively as there is, and they are so comfortable and confident with their depth they could make that move for Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, even talk of Aaron Judge playing some left field this year on occasion to get Giancarlo Stanton in right field.
That's as close as you want also to the timer. Really quick, right to the 1 second mark with no one on. Remember, it's 15 seconds as soon as the pitcher receives the baseball. That's the ultimate team player, by the way, Aaron Judge, saying, I'll go play left field if you need me. They understand with Bader in center, you can get Giancarlo Stanton some playing time in right, shorter porch, less on his legs out there at Yankee Stadium.
Swing and a miss from Peraza. And again, just to remind people at home as you get used to these rules, it's not that the pitcher has to let the ball go before 0. He has to start his delivery. And the ground to short, good hop. Mason Wynn, strong throw, and that's a 1-2-3 inning for Jake Walsh. Good arm there from Mason Wynn. Halfway through, Mets and Cardinals 4-2. Back with Coney and Eddie. Carl Ravitch here. Buster Olney down on the field, and Kylie McDaniel going to join us in a second. So Gunnar Henderson, of course, with the Baltimore Orioles. We can't wait to see what Corbin Carroll can do for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Will Anthony Volpe break camp with the New York Yankees? Moreno and Francisco Alvarez, of course, playing in this game. His top 5 Major League Baseball prospects, 6 through 10. Yuri Perez can absolutely throw flames. Meyer is the future shortstop in Boston. Lawler's another infielder likely to play shortstop, and Andrew Painter may be the guy at 19, 20 years old, so young that keeps the Phillies in World Series conversations the remainder of this season. And Kylie joins us now. All right, so sort of large 30,000-foot view. You gave us the top 10. Baseball seems to have transitioned into a period, and the Cardinals are a great example of it, where younger players are impacting the game at a greater and greater level each season. Is that your assessment of where the game is right now?
Yeah, it seems like the expectation is that these guys can come up and immediately do it, and that guys like Acuna or Tatis or Alonso that come up and are immediately Rookie of the Year and getting MVP consideration, making All-Star games. I think there's been advancement in player development. I think teams are getting better at taking the best players at the top of the draft, moving them through the minors quickly. I think that whole process is getting streamlined, where we're seeing just like higher efficiency and these guys turning into what they're supposed to turn into.
Yeah, yep, agreed. A lot of middle infielders on your top 10 list. Is there a way to look at it, break it down, that the current crop of younger players play a certain position, or is it really a variety?
Yeah, I noticed there was like an unnatural number of left-handed hitting shortstops specifically, mostly drafted from the high school ranks. And I think we're just seeing, like, I was kind of wondering aloud if it was going to become that, like, Nomar, Jeter, A-Rod group where they get the cover of Sports Illustrated, where they all come up at the same time and they all look like a version of, you know, Corey Seager or Carlos Correa all in the same class.
Now that ball rocketed off the bat of Wynn that Alonso knocked down, but he's unable to keep it in front of him. And you may have a little action here with Wynn on first and a runner on third, nobody out.
That's a heck of a play by actually Pete Alonso, getting a glove on it. Smoked the opposite field, but quick reaction to his left as Mason Wynn allowing that ball to get deep, not trying to do too much with it, but barrels it just down the line, and that'll keep Wynn from being at second and most likely Herrera from scoring if the ball would have gone down the line into the corner.
Cardinal prospect?
Yeah, he's really interesting. He was a big name because early in his high school career, he was hitting the mid-90s and also showing tons of tools at shortstop. He was drafted in, I think, the comp to early second round as primarily a shortstop. The Cardinals let him mess around on the mound a little bit, but he made such big strides last year as a shortstop, getting all the way to Double-A as a teenager 20-year-old, that now he's knocking on the door in the big leagues, and him messing around on the mound is not as much of an option.
43 stolen bases last year between Peoria and Springfield, and he took off, and he's down there at second after Chassin had thrown over once.
And it was actually a step, just it seemed like half a step bigger lead he did after that first one, and there was no chance to be able to get him with that speed.
So Brendan Donovan bats, runners at second and third, and that pitch from Jose Chacin misses away. You know, every time we do the draft, Kylie, we get into the debate, high school versus college. Where would you say baseball is, or is there no change at all in the way that the front offices look at players that they're drafting?
I was talking to a scout at Ole Miss about this last week because I've noticed that as teams have moved toward a more corporate, analytical model-based approach, more data, all that kind of stuff, teams aren't necessarily getting, like, on the whole, this team is nailing the draft and this team doesn't know, like someone figured it out. Everyone's just doing different flavors of the same kind of stuff. And so I think it's interesting now that, like, you talk about a guy like Enrique Bradfield at Vanderbilt, 80 runner, center fielder, very little power. There's like 5 or 6 teams that love that kind of player, like Cleveland, Tampa, Milwaukee. They take that guy all day long. There's teams like Baltimore that, like, I assume won't take that guy at all. And so now we're looking at sort of a spectrum of, do you want stuff guys or command guys on the mound? Do you want power guys or hit first guys? Do you want up the middle or corner boppers? Like, everyone's got a slightly different lean. And so it makes for a more diverse experience, which I think with, everyone going into on the field doing all the shifting, it can get a little homogenous at times.
Tough hop there for Pete Alonso. Everybody is safe. Donovan's at first, and Herrera scores from third base.
Tony, you notice the same thing I have, at least on this field. It seems like anything around the seams, it's a hard infield, and we've seen the hops at third base for Vientos, and we saw it right now, right? Again, hard spots in the infield. Pete Alonso having a difficult time.
Yeah, the dirt is very hard here. We've had a stretch of really warm weather, almost unseasonably warm weather here in Florida. It's definitely affecting the playing conditions.
I'll let you in on a little secret. When I played for the Cardinals, I used to go to Tony La Russa's office and say, Tony, I'll make every trip. You don't have to play me at home. I'll be that road warrior. That's one of the big reasons as well. The infield here, it's just harder because both teams, the Marlins and the Cardinals, play on this field, and it just gets eaten up during the spring.
Kylie, Luken Baker, for those of us that cover college baseball, remember what a source of power he was at TCU. He's in the on-deck circle for the Cardinals right now. Where is Luken Baker in his baseball life?
He's in that tough spot where I mentioned earlier some teams shy away from the the right-handed hitting corner bopper. He's got to figure out a way to hit his way into the lineup because there's a bias against that kind of player that's got that sort of limited upside because he's got to hit so much since he's not going to give you a ton of speed around the bases, but he's got 30 home run power. I actually remember in high school he was up to 95 with a good breaking ball too. Like, he's incredibly talented. He's just sort of unlucky that that kind of player isn't in vogue right now.
And this one to right center field. That's sending Almonte into the gap, and he can't get it. Slowly rolls around the track out there. Wind touches home. To third base goes Donovan. And second base for Lute Barr.
You hear it right there, the Newt. And you're going to hear a lot of that for Team Japan as well, as this will be his last game before he flies out to Tokyo. Ball down, stays with it. He's one of those kids that has gone out there and has gone to drive line, has gotten his bat measurements done at the Marucci lab, trying to get better.
And here comes the aforementioned Luken Baker with 2 on. The other guy that we haven't talked about, Kylie, did something earlier today when he was on one of the backfields, hit a baseball out of the field he was on onto the roof of another building that was a good 100 feet away from the field that they were playing on. And that's Jordan Walker. As Eduardo witnessed it, he said he didn't remember a ball going from the field that he was on off the roof of a building since Mark McGuire was doing it. Tell us a little bit about Jordan Walker.
He's actually from the high school that I'm zoned for here in Decatur, Georgia. So big fan of him from Decatur High School. It's either on the 2080 scouting scale, it's either 70 or 80 raw power, chance to hit 30, 40 homers if it all clicks. The concern there is what position he's going to play. It looked like he might be able to play third. Obviously with Arenado, he's more of an outfielder now for the Cards. I think he'll be fine out there. Was surprisingly good defensively in the Arizona Fall League. And the other question is he doesn't lift the ball quite as much as some of these huge home run hitters. So he's a really good hitter. He makes contact. He hits the ball hard. Will he lift it enough to get those big home run numbers? But it seems doable. It's just one of those adjustments that has to be made to dial it in just a little better.
This is one he hit yesterday. I keep referring to the one he hit earlier today during batting practice, but this was yesterday, 430 feet or so. Think Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton just as a physical specimen.
Yeah, playing against the high school kids, it looked a little unfair back then.
Yeah, yeah. And he's got a 100-watt smile. He lights up a room. He's very, very easy to talk to. Just another one in that pipeline of Cardinals young players.
Carl, he's one of those guys when you interview and you finish the interview, you hope that he is as good as they say because you know he can be the face of baseball. The smile, the way he speaks of others, it's very impressive. The last one I had seen like that, being that young and doing well, was Aaron Judge when he first got to the major leagues.
I thought maybe you were going to say Julio Rodriguez.
That was my thought.
Similar persona, yeah.
It just seems like these kids are so much more confident coming to the big leagues. Like they feel like they belong. And I think Kylie made a good point in terms of, you know, the development and the tools that are available to these kids in terms of analytics and getting information on their swings and how their body moves through biomechanics really is having an impact on these young players.
But I think what you have to give a lot of credit to Major League Baseball and the Players Association. One thing they really get along with and they do well is the rookie program. And they've been doing this program for quite some time, since 1993. And because that program has had so much success, these young players are going through it and they're understanding not only how to be able to do good interviews, but how to be a major leaguer early on.
Buck Showalter has gone to the mound. He's going to take out Chacin and bring in a righty Trey McLaughlin. So we mentioned to Billy Epler, Kylie, about you have Verlander, you know, you bring Senga over, you have Scherzer. There's certainly a veteran nature to their staff and the work that they have to do to replenish their farm system with regards to front line pitching. Give us a thumbnail on the Mets prospects, and if you want to start with the pitchers and then go to the position players.
Yeah, it's interesting because the top of their system is somewhat unique in that it's 4 position players on the 40-man roster that could come up at any time this year and be helpful, which that's what teams want to have. That's what the Cardinals have also, is a lot of position players ready to contribute. Yep. And then the Mets' depth of pitching is like a little further down the list. You talk about Mike Vassell and some other guys in that range that you're kind of looking at middle relievers, you know, spot starters, 4th, 5th starters, those kinds of guys. Blade Tidwell, a guy they took out of Tennessee in the last draft, has a chance to be better than that, but there's a little bit of reliever risk and command is a bit of a concern. And also Alex Ramirez at the lower levels, who could be an impact center fielder. So pitching and pitching depth isn't necessarily the strength here, but when you have the veterans to stack up the top of that rotation, you don't need an impact guy. You just need some depth to run through as you have that natural attrition throughout the year. That's what they have right now.
You see Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty at the top of the Mets prospect list. Of course, when we brought up Carlos Correa with the Mets and where they went and the contract and then the voiding of it, and you know, the idea was that was going to affect Brett Beatty a lot because he seems to be the future third baseman. They got Escobar and then Guillorme, who plays all over the place. Beatty had an interesting reaction to it, and that's one of the things that these young guys, I'm sure, Kylie, have to get used to is, in a sense, until you get there, you're not there. And if you sign somebody for 8 or 9 years, you can get blocked and you become the guy that would be used in a trade.
Yeah, the risk, you see this with some, you know, first place contending type teams, is they have a lot of good prospects in AAA, like Joe Adell with the Angels has run into this problem, is they come up, they're not good for a few weeks, the team can't afford to leave him up there. He's got to go back to AAA and use yo-yo him back and forth, and he doesn't have a chance to improve or get established anywhere, and doesn't have a chance to contribute. The Toronto had that problem with 3 different catchers. Gabriel Moreno, part of the reason they traded him to Arizona is because he wasn't going to have a chance to play with 2 veteran catchers in Kirk and Jansen ahead of him. They needed to get a guy that sort of fit their needs a little bit better. And so with the Mets having those 4 guys, but sort of a full roster, you kind of wonder, is there going to be a lost year in AAA where maybe they'd be in the big leagues for a less talented team?
Paul DeYoung pops out to the catcher, and field fly rule called, and he is retired. Kylie, listen, thanks very much. The information's always great. We look forward to following what you have to say, both online and certainly on television. Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me. The draft is coming, Ravi.
I know. I can't wait. Can't wait. The highlight last year was terrific, and we'll be in Seattle for the All-Star game and the Major League Baseball draft, as there are now 2 down and the bases stay loaded. Dylan Carlson with another chance.
Looking forward to Seattle. All-Star, great weather during that time.
Want to hear a weird All-Star story about Seattle? The last time the All-Star game was in Seattle, Buck Showalter was working for us. I ordered Chinese food to the room, chicken and broccoli, and it came in oyster sauce, and I have a shellfish allergy, and I didn't know it, that it came in oyster sauce. He had to take me to the hospital. So every time I see Buck, I remind him that he saved my life. That was at I was in Seattle the last time the All-Star game was there. Non-disclosure on the oyster sauce and the chicken and broccoli. There you go, Carlson, gap shot. And it's going to bring in Donovan. He's followed by Nootbaar. Gorman in a base-clearing double, and a big hit for Dylan Carlson.
Love the approach. Something he's been working on. When you have 2 strikes, not trying to do so much. Pitch was away, 4-seam fastball, and he's able to poke it out there, left center field, misses location, and when that happens, center fielder playing to the pull side, left fielder actually playing more towards the line, easily driving in 3.
Carlson makes his first hit of the spring, one to remember. And now Moises Gomez, and it's funny, you mentioned Donovan, Gorman, Carlson. There's so many of these guys who seem to be right at that same part of their careers to just get started and be such impactful players.
Buck Showalter saved your life?
Took me to the hospital.
Wow.
Yep.
Now I see. I see you guys kind of go at each other.
Yeah, a little bit.
You got a little something different there.
Pete Alonso, nope, that's foul.
Now you understand all those manager meetings that we've had in New York.
Just getting a visual of Buck Showalter reacting to that situation. You have to know Buck. I could just totally see him taking care of that situation, taking care of you.
He was great. His son actually was with us. He came too. He was in the room. Once you get the shot of adrenaline, you start to recover. But he's always been a good man, Buck Showalter, and the Mets sure happy to have him as their manager as that one finds the second row behind home plate.
There's just nobody more prepared, right, that thinks about everything.
That was a great conversation about the rules. He went in directions I'm just not certain.
How about the
many
bat boy?
others are going.
The bat boy.
The bat boy.
He thinks that you might have to bring your home bat boy on the road because of the pitch clock. You got to be ready. If you start enough an inning, you got to have the bats ready. Everything's got to be in order and ready to go. And so you might see the Mets bat boy on the road this year.
Yep. There comes Pete. Big hit, Dylan Carlson. It was a base clearing double. The Mets manager saved lives, hoping to get himself his first World Series this year. Well, we've talked a lot about the consistency and the Cardinals' success under John Mozeliak. 15 straight winning seasons. He just signed an extension in the offseason, 10 postseason appearances. World Series in 2011, 2 National League pennants. Has seen the transition from guys like Pujols and Molina to the current crop with Goldschmidt and Arenado as the foundation pieces. He joins us now in the booth, but we don't want to take our eyes off this guy on the mound, Tink Hence, who can throw at 95 and up. So, John, thanks very much for joining us here in the booth. You're excited about this kid on the mound?
Yeah, we really are. Obviously, first look at him at a major league level game. Big arm. I think the big test for him is going to be like the volume game, getting his innings in. But we're super excited about what we see with him. And when you think back to that really 2020 draft for the Cardinals, it's one right now that I think we're going to take a lot of pride in moving forward.
Yeah, Jordan Walker's part of that. This one on the ground, fielded, and the throw to first is in time. Good play. Third baseman is Taylor Motter, just inserted into the game. So 15 years, I sort of said to you earlier, you're kind of like the Brian Cashman of the National League, and you joke that you're old, but the sustained success is hard to do. You guys haven't had to break it down dramatically like many other organizations have. What's the key to that?
Well, I think the reason we don't is because we believe in our fan base. And when you're having 3+ million come to the gates, you're trying to put the best product out there as much as possible. But the way we have to go about doing it is really sign internationally well, draft well, and develop well. And if we can do that, we can be consistent on the product we put out on that major league field.
Your goal to make Ollie Marmol's job easier on one hand, but more difficult on the other, because the number of options you have at different positions, the depth is unique.
You know, you're always trying to build that strong bench, deep bench. And when you talk about bench, we're referring to really AAA and below. And so having those options, I think, is critical. And a lot of times you talk about spring training as, oh, it's going to be competitive. We want that competitive camp. And look, I've said it for 15, 16 years, and probably half the time it's not true, but this year it really is a competitive camp, and we have a lot of young guys coming, a lot of guys fighting for at-bats, a lot of guys fighting for innings. It's really going to be fun to sort of watch how these next 4 weeks play out and who actually earns it. But most importantly, like, whoever doesn't will probably still see St. Louis at some point in the year.
That's a great point. I think for a lot of fans, this, and maybe it's a misnomer, maybe it's not, but are you a major leaguer or are you in Triple or Double A? And it sounds like, from your perspective, the line is not so defined. It's almost, they're interchangeable.
Yeah, and I learned a long time ago, like it's not necessarily what you look like on April 1 as far as your 26-man roster. It's really what you look like at the end of the year. And so all of us who have been part of the big leagues, we see rosters evolve, change, things happen, and you're hopeful you can adjust and adapt to those as they do change.
You know, we had Billy Epler in here last half inning, and I asked him this question. Do you foresee all the rules changes? Maybe more athleticism because of the lack of the shift, or really across the board, the pitch clock. Is that going to affect the skill set you're looking for in terms of the draft or development in the organization? Are you looking for more athletes, more speed, maybe more stolen bases? Or is that something that's going to gradually kind of impact the game?
Well, historically, we're always looking for athletes. You know, you think about guys that play multiple sports, do more things than just playing travel ball. I mean, that's something that we've always valued or find attractive. So I'm hopeful that that's true. Like, you know, when you look at like what's happening in the game, larger bases, maybe more people are willing to attempt to steal. Obviously, you get 2 step-offs or pick-offs. So, you know, you're encouraging more action. And I think, you know, early on, first 2 days of spring training, we've all seen a faster paced game.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm biased here, but I think it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely less dead time, which I think we all can agree on that.
This is the Florida State Pitcher of the Year last year at Palm Beach, and a postseason All-Star. If he were dangling out there now, we're talking about athleticism, would you bring Eduardo Perez into the Cardinal organization?
Yeah, like I think anybody that swings a bat is always going to have a chance to play somewhere. But when you look at just pure athleticism, you know, some people are
Finish well, finish strong, finish strong.
I love Eduardo. I mean, he knows that. I mean, I can't say anything bad about him other than jumping in my car. So, yeah. Thief.
Believe it.
That looks like it's going foul down the left field line. You've also, beyond players, you've dealt with some managerial changes, a new pitching coach, etc. You know, we all are brought up covering the sport and hear about the Cardinal way. You know, how important is that continuation for the newcomers, and how do you define it?
So obviously, you know, my philosophy with employees is always trying to promote from within. I think, like, when you work in the minor leagues, you spend just as much time working at your trade as you do in the big leagues, and sometimes there's just never that sort of reward. And so, like, trying to always put that carrot out there for these guys that are working hard, that there is a chance to advance. And so that's goal number one. Goal number two is obviously find the right person for the job. And as you guys know, this offseason we hired Matt Holliday to be our bench coach. He stepped away. Within a few days we identified Joe McEwing. He stepped right in. Fortunately for us, he does have a connection to the Cardinals. He knows a little bit about that Cardinal way.
Right.
And so that just sort of helps. But, ideally you're trying to solve all your problems internally.
We hear about fan bases. How would you describe the Cardinals fan base?
Well, I mean, you talk about consistency. I mean, they're loyal. The way I always like to try to explain it to people that aren't familiar with St. Louis is it's really generational. In other words, like, when I first moved to St. Louis, I'd hear these guys talk about, like, we're huge Cardinal fans. And then they would, like, relate back to going to, like, a World Series parade in the early 80s and how much pride they had in that. Now they get to experience that with their own kids. And so when you look at the history of the Cardinals and how they've really been able to put together decades of success, it might be every other decade, but I think that's really the key. And it's also a regional team. So when you look at the generational depth of the Cardinal fan and where they come from, it's it's something that I think we're just super grateful to have. Yeah. And most importantly, we try to find a way to keep them happy.
Likely Pete Alonso's final at bat. When you see a young kid like Tink out here and a proven bat like Alonso, do you raise your level of sort of interest in a matchup like this or not?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, his first couple outs were solid, and so was that.
Alonso done. John, thanks very much. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure.
President of Baseball Operations.
Take your Uber account now.
Of the St. Louis Cardinals. 7-4. No rides for you, Eddie, anymore. No rides. Fantastic baseball event. The festival is back. The excitement. 2023 World Baseball Classic starts March 8th. Get your tickets today at worldbaseballclassic.com. We know how excited the players are, and Buster Olney's with one of those.
And that would be Pete Alonso, the Mets first baseman. Pete, we were just talking about the WBC. How excited are you for that?
Yeah, really excited. I mean, I've been looking forward to this for a really long time, and yeah, it's going to be a really exciting event.
So tell me how you like the new rules, the pitch clock.
I mean, I don't know just yet. I mean, this is only my second game, kind of get used to it, and I'm gonna get a little bit more feel it, and then I'll get back to you on that one.
What kind of challenge does it present in terms of what you do?
I mean, it's just a little rule change. It's just something that I'm gonna need to get used to, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see as time unravels. I haven't really had to change really anything too much. Just need to be cognizant of the clock, but I mean, so far so good.
As a first baseman, how do you think the rules limiting pickoff, step-offs, that sort of thing, will impact base running?
I mean, obviously running the bases and stolen bases are going to be encouraged with the bigger bags, and then the pitch clock, and then the amount of limitations there are to pitchers. But also, there's some ways to get around that with some mixing your timing up as a pitcher, and then also pitching out as well. If you're going to do a pitch out, then you don't really have to waste a pickoff there. So there's going to be some different wrinkles in the game, and I know that Buck is going to have a few things up his sleeve.
Buck was raving about you and the kind of condition that you came into spring training. What'd you do during the offseason?
I didn't really change a whole lot, but the one thing I did do on a daily basis, I mean, the first thing I did in the morning was just run 2 miles as fast as I could. I stayed pretty consistent with that. It didn't change a whole lot with my routine. I just wanted to see how far I could push myself mentally, because I want to see how I can evolve myself, and if running 2 miles in the morning every day in the off season can do that, kind of help me find another level mentally. That's something I wanted to try and tinker with and do.
Was that like a treadmill? Was it a track? Did you go different places to do that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, treadmill, track, run around the neighborhood, you name it. I mean, I just wanted to just get out there and do it, and just get my heart going in the morning. And right after that, I would do my baseball activity and my weight and agility training.
Last one. Now that you're around Justin Verlander every day, what's your first impressions of him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's great for a reason. I mean, it's awesome seeing him get to work. But the one thing I'm really excited for is to see how he approaches the season, and I want to see how he goes from start to start. But I mean, so far so good. I mean, it's going to be a really exciting year to watch him do his thing during the regular season.
Pete, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to you guys.
All right, so the polar bear just sprinting through your neighborhood in the morning.
Yeah, that's a sight.
For 2 miles.
As fast as he can.
No stop. No brakes, no red lights. He is just flying. And he's in good shape.
He looks great. He really does. And I think, you know, he understands what kind of opportunity he has here to make an impact again like he did a few years ago. And they need him. They need him in that middle of that lineup. He understands how important he is to this organization.
Just the pride he takes in improving his defense, becoming a good first baseman, becoming a good hitter, not just a slugger.
Taylor Motter, who was born right down the road in West Palm Beach, Florida, delivers a shot back up the middle, and he is aboard with 2 down.
So Taylor Motter this morning, there he goes, starting that 2-mile run. Oh, easy for him right there. But Motter's base hit up the middle. He started this morning facing Jack Flaherty, gets his first opportunity here, hits it up the middle. Usually what we were seeing in the last few years with the shift, maybe the second baseman would have been there.
Yeah, Victor Scott lifts this one at a shallow left field, and going out to make the play is Brett Beatty. Beatty's into the game for the New York Mets. We'll keep an eye on him, get a chance to see him take a hack. Through 6 innings, Dog Day afternoon at the ballpark. We're back, and we look forward to the spring training coverage Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Got a chance to see some of the best teams in the major leagues. 1 o'clock Thursday, noon Eastern start. You saw some video there of Yordan Alvarez. Well, Dusty Baker's got a real chance to repeat. Haven't seen one of those since the Yankees back in the early 2000s. The Astros, I don't know how you lose Justin Verlander, but maybe get better. But they feel like they might be better than they were last year.
They're pretty deep. I mean, with that pitching staff that they do have, Christian Javier came into his own, signed an extension. Urquidy looks great. Garcia and Framber Valdez. Wow. Let's not forget Hunter Brown as well.
Yeah, Hunter Brown, a young big arm ready to step up. And Abreu was the perfect signing for them at first base.
I asked Abreu, I said, what's better, Florida or Arizona? He looked at me, he goes, Florida. And I said, why? And he goes, I'm with the champs. I'm with the champs. It's not about the weather, it's about who I am with. And he's like, this is a great team. Yordan Alvarez from the left side, fellow Cuban. He's loving it.
Brett Beatty, first time up for the New York Mets, swing and a miss, and a really nasty pitch from Anthony Misevich, who came over after spending 3 years with the Mariners and the Kansas City Royals. So Beatty retired on a strikeout.
Tight little cutter, slider hybrid there. Late movement, swinging over the top.
He was on an opening day roster each of the last 3 seasons, and here's Ronnie Mauricio.
Now this kid is legit power. Yesterday he hit a blast to right center field from the left side. Switch hitter, great talent, great body and physique.
Easy play for Motter. And quickly 2 down. Well, the idea that Abreu ended up there in an offense that may get Michael Brantley back this year, like a healthy Michael Brantley's adding one of the better contact hitters in baseball.
Yeah, and he's getting his swings up, and if all goes according to schedule, he should be available for opening day.
Just seems like Houston's been ahead of the curve for the last 10 years.
Right, exactly.
They're starting pitchers using four-seamers before everybody else, exploiting the top of the zone. Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander. And then hitting-wise, their whole offensive profile, leaning towards contact before contact became in vogue again.
Alex Ramirez swinging bunt. And no, that ball was right by Lucan Baker and goes into that Cardinal dugout down the right field line. He's going to keep on running. The ball has been picked up, and he's going to end up at third base. The right fielder, Alec Burleson, went over, kind of raised his arms like, I can't see it, so let's call this dead. But the officials and umpires didn't agree. Alex Ramirez is one of the highly touted Mets prospects. And Buck, as far as young players in the organization, he speaks very highly of him.
Yeah, and this is a difficult play. Have to throw it field side. Give a lot of credit to Ramirez that stayed in the running lane. A lot of runners go on the inside part. If that would have been, he would have been on the inside part, inning would have been over. Good job base running. Watch him already be exactly where he needs to be. Home plate umpire Ryan Adigan was right on top of home plate, making sure that he stayed in line.
And if I recall, Eduardo, Lucan Baker, didn't he have a terrible elbow injury that cost him some time, and you saw him pull his left arm back real quick? That's as dangerous a play.
And I do not blame him one bit,
No.
especially in spring training.
That's where the bigger bags are supposed to help, that particular play at first base.
Hayden Singer sends this to right center, shallow right center, and the catch is made by Burleson. Quick inning for the Mets. Runner stranded at third. Middle of the seventh. It's the Cardinals 7, the Mets 4. Suit up this season, MLBshop.com. Check out the largest selection of authentic caps, t-shirts, collectibles, and more. Gear up with your favorite team at MLBshop.com. Buster Olney down on the field. Eduardo Perez, David Cone, Carl Ravitch here. And Lucan Baker will start things off in the bottom of the seventh. And a spinning pitch in there for strike one. Baker's about 6'5", 285. You can see he is huge. Now, Buster, the one thing you're reminded of when you come to spring training and Major League Baseball stadiums, baseball players are huge.
Yeah, there's no question. Look, anybody's going to look tall next to me, okay? But there's no way. You're listed at 6'5". There's no way, Jordan, that you're 6'5".
You know what? I might give you a little secret. They might be a little off now. I think I grew another inch. I might be 6'6" now, so for sure. It's definitely 6'6", and then a little heavier if you see it.
Okay, what would be the other half of that then? How big? What's the weight?
I am currently 250 pounds right now, but I'm wavering in between 249, 251, around that area.
Yeah, we were talking on our conference call last week, getting ready for this, and you're right in the Giancarlo, Aaron Judge range.
Hey, that's good company to be in, you know.
All right. So this spring, you've played the infield pretty much your whole life, but this spring you're playing a lot of outfield. How's that going?
It's going really well, man. Having a lot of fun out there, learning a lot out there. So it's really fun out there. It's a lot of fun. You know, I think it's a learning opportunity, definitely, but, you know, it's going pretty well.
Okay, who are the players that you're leaning on for advice and how to make that transition?
Pretty much all the outfield guys. In the early work before we started playing games, I took a lot of fly balls with O'Neill, Newbar, Carlson, just learning from them, looking at what they do. And then one who's really gotten, put me under his wing kind of is Juan Yepes. So when he works in the outfield, he pretty much tells me everything I need to know. He gives me the full rundown, flight reads, jumps, low line drives, everything I pretty much need to know. And he's really been helpful on, you know, me learning all that stuff.
Okay, when Mike Trout was drafted, he was picked late in the first round, and there's always been a debate since then. Why did he last so long? You were a 21st pick in the first round. How have you evolved since you were picked at 21?
I think the Cardinals really put me in a great position, and with the coaching staff I was around and the players I was around. I learned a lot from a lot of different people. Mason base running and arm. He gets me, you know, right. We throw all the time together. And he gets me right with spin on the ball, you know, how to get the maximum velocity. And that's the guy to ask if you want the maximum velocity on your ball. But also just, you know, different teammates with hitting. Remember last year, Chandler Redmond on my Springfield Cardinals team really helped me, you know, clear my head and you know, help me get into a little groove hitting And so did Pedro Paez, our catcher, who just caught last inning. But, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of different people out here. And definitely I would say thanks to Cheo and Willie for the outfield work as well, along with the other players. So I think it's just, being around these other players, getting the little bits and pieces from them has really helped me, evolve a little bit.
Guys in booth want to know, what other sports did you play besides baseball growing up?
Oh, a lot. Basketball. I would mess around with my friends, and flag football. I never really wanted to get into actual football, but we had a little flag football thing going on. Soccer, swimming, did a lot of different things.
So I got to ask you a question that another short guy definitely would ask if he was here. My friend Tim Kirkjian, how old were you when you dunked?
When I dunked, my first dunk, I'll say, my boys from high school remember better than I can. I'll say 14. 15.
Wow.
I'll say 15.
That's really scary.
I'll give him 15. Yeah, that's when I hit my growth spurt, and I was really tall, so I started jumping a little bit better as well. I got my first dunk. It was a little rim grazer, but it is what it is.
Little lonely in the outfield?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I'm so used to being right next to Mason. He's talking all the time, but now I'm out in the outfield, no one to talk to. Real lonely out there for sure.
All right, George. It was great talking with you.
For sure.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. He's a future star, certainly on the field and what appears to be off the field. So Lucan Baker's going to second base.
That's just a great sign when you see a young player like that, not afraid to show a little personality.
100%.
So nice to hear that.
Breaking pitch up in the zone to Juan Yepes.
I had a conversation with him also yesterday morning, and I asked him, I said, so your third baseman, have you taken him out there at all? He's like, why should I right now? You got Nolan Arenado there, right? He goes, no, I love him. I see him every day in the locker, but he does not go out. It's all outfield.
So, like I said, Eddie, we saw a baseball hit by Walker earlier today, and you did go back to the McGuire days. How far was that baseball hit?
Okay, so the backfields, if you look at it, I would say close to 500 feet.
Right.
And
no exaggeration.
It wasn't wind aided at all. On the contrary, the wind was actually blowing in. And it was really impressive because it hit the top of the batting cages that are actually behind the backstop from this stadium. But it was the further stadium, and when Michaelis told us, he's like, yep, you guys know who hit that one, right? It was very impressive. I had never seen it since Mark McGuire. Last time I saw that.
We kind of went deep with Miles Michaelis about fishing and the preparation that goes into fishing the night before. He's all about that. Went out to catch big swordfish, but he's packing the tackle and wind direction, all that stuff.
Oh, so he's going out deep.
He's going out deep.
That's not messing around there.
No.
Get some rotator cuff work that way, right? Trying to drag those things in.
Biceps burning. And again, the parade of Cardinal prospects. Here's another one, Alec Burleson. Burleson's 24. So he settles in, and the pitch from Kyle Wilson. So what's the latest in pitch technology? We had the sweeper that was sort of taking baseball by storm last year. What are some of the pitchers that you've come in contact with this spring been telling you that they worked hard on?
Well, I think really the advancements have been more in identification and what you do well. It's not just trying to clone pitchers. Everybody has to throw the four-seamer at the top of the zone. No, we identify that your two-seamer actually works for you. The shape, the spin, the movement on it, we can identify that's a pitch you should be throwing more of. So we're away from the cloning phase and identifying what everybody does well and then working on that part of it and then pitch design within that realm. So I think we're seeing back to the craft of pitching again, as opposed to trying to pigeonhole pitchers into what they think works on any given year.
Because you go into these pitching laboratories and they say to you, well, what have you been doing? Well, I've been throwing the slider, I throw the 2-seamer, the 4-seamer, and then all of a sudden they'll say, well, have we tried this pitch? Have you tried this? And all of a sudden you see these numbers light up and you're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that would work. That would be different. Another tough hop. Burleson grounds to first base for the out on.
You know, certainly a lot of pitchers are messing around with cut fastballs, cutters, especially against the opposite hand when you don't have the platoon advantage. If you're a left-handed pitcher, obviously throwing it to right-handed hitters and vice versa for righties against lefties. You know, we saw that with Mariano Rivera. Nobody can throw a Mariano Rivera cutter, but certainly, you know, if you can master that pitch,
right.
How many bats did we see him break, especially left-handed hitters? Plus, it opens up the outside part of the plate. So the old cutter in, soft away, hard in, soft away. The craft of the sport is kind of coming.
Yeah, there was a balk there, and that's going to allow Banker to come in and touch home plate.
And that was the second balk already this inning for him, and that's one of the reasons why Lukin was able to get from first to second. And you'll see more balk calls this year than we saw last season for sure. Never stopped.
It's just not even close to a stop. There was a time back when the Cardinals in the 80s had Vince Coleman, and who was regularly stealing 100 bags a year, where a little bounce or a lack of a discernible stop was a real weapon for pitchers to try to counter the running game. Certainly that's why you're going to see the ball called more, because obviously Major League Baseball is trying to encourage more athleticism, more of a running game. I'm not sure we'll see the days of Vince Coleman again or Ricky Henderson, but you're seeing a lot of minor league players nowadays that are, with these new rules, that have attempted more stolen bases. Certainly the attempt rate is up across the board in the minor leagues. We'll see how that translates on the major league level.
John Birdie stole 41 bases last year. That was the major league lead. The idea that people are listening, and you just said that Vince Coleman would steal, there is 100 bases a year is like foreign.
Yes.
But it certainly feels like this year with the new rules, there are certain guys who could easily eclipse 50 stolen. It feels that way.
Yeah, Whitey ball. Whitey Herzog back in the day.
But the thing is, what's interesting, Carl, and we've had this conversation before, is that, okay, there were times that if you do get caught stealing, it's part of the game, no big deal. But now getting caught stealing works against your statistics, the wins above replacement, the WAR. It works against it, and now players are smart enough. They have these conversations, maybe with their agents, with other players, and they're like, is it worth trying to get an extra bag or not? Will it work against me when it comes to that wins above replacement?
One thing I will say is that later in games with relievers, who are notoriously slower to home plate, that we may see more chances taken, especially with games on the line. It can really pay dividends. Leadoff walk, Kenley Jansen on the mound. Leadoff walk, steal second, steal third. You're at third base with nobody out. You might win a game. A lot of these hard-throwing relievers, high-velocity relievers that are used to having extra time in between pitches.
Gomez rips this to left field. It's going to get down. That's going to play Yepes, and hard hit ball that Wilson left up in the zone, and a good job by Moises Gomez.
Moises Gomez is just strong. That was a muscled one right there. Ball in, got in on him. Buck Showalter, they might have to resod the grass a little bit. He's taking a few trips to change pitchers here this spring training, protecting their arms.
Tony Debrell coming into pitch. We're going to share an interesting conversation we had with a player about WAR when we come back. Welcome back. You can listen to every MLB game live or on demand, and 250 or more spring training games, new and included for 2023. Watch All of the minor league baseball games plus live look-ins on MLB Big Inning with no blackouts. Visit MLB.com/@bat. There's Coney's no blackouts, and if you love minor league baseball or you love Major League Baseball and want to see future major leaguers, you get a chance to do that. Again, MLB.com/@bat. Tony Dubrell will try to get out of the bottom of the 7th. The Cardinals adding 2 more here to go up 9-4. So fascinating conversation with Tommy Edman before the game about this WAR, wins above replacement pool, and how every rule is almost geared to strengthen his WAR, and he's one of the top WAR guys as far as players go, and rewarded with another bonus of about $750,000. So this attention to WAR is a very real thing for baseball players. And I know we've seen Carlos Correa on a set in the postseason explaining why it's so important to players and their financial futures.
Carlos last week about this, because I had an opposing coaching staff tell me that in a running situation last year, Correa was at first. They were debating whether or not he was going to run, and the conversation was, no, he's not going to, because he won't get thrown out, because he knows that hurts his WAR. And Carlos acknowledged that from game to game, he focuses on his WAR, and he tells other players, like Juan Miranda in the Twins clubhouse, look, WAR is important because that's how it's determined how you get paid.
For me, that's all well and good, but there's a balance between how you get paid and trying to win the game.
Yes.
And when to take a risk, especially late in the games. As I mentioned before, with potential slower delivering relief pitchers.
Yes.
That concentrate more on velocity and are going to have to work quicker and be distracted by the pitch clock. There will be opportunities to take advantage of that.
And there are times when you're a base runner at first base that, look, you get sent. Because it's okay if you are the last out of the inning. We'd rather have a new count with the runner, with the hitter for the next inning. And, because players are more aware of, look, this is going to affect me financially, is it the best thing for teams in the long run? And that now remains to be seen.
People at home are probably wondering, like, wait a minute, so if you get caught stealing, there's this dramatic impact on your WAR number? I mean, how quickly does it change?
I'm not sure it's all that dramatic. One caught stealing, several over the course of a season might add up.
Thought he had him.
Sure did think he had him.
Had that little hop, skip, and a jump like Carlos Perez used to have when he left-hander. Remember back in the day, he used to have after a strike 3, Russell right here, thinking that this was a good pitch.
Tony, you got to have that in a spring training game in a 9-4 situation.
Yeah, that was pretty good. You talk about pitcher being able to locate, catcher being able to frame, and then maybe new rules coming next year too.
That's fair. We may have robo-umps.
And that might be a situation where next year, at least in AAA, part of the season will be automated strike zone.
Yep.
And part of the season will be a challenge system where, in that situation, if you're the pitcher, you could challenge that pitch and get a replay. Which I am kind of a fan of.
Are you?
In terms of later in the games. How many times have we seen one pitch like that turn the course of a game?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you have the ability to challenge that and get it overturned, that's interesting to me.
And we've seen it, at the lower level, and it's worked. And it's quick. I think that's the biggest concern for a lot of people. Jeremy Rivas fouls one back. Rivas, the shortstop, the youngest player on the field. He's just 19 years young. What was your baseball?
19.
Where were you at 19?
I was in Burger King right about now.
Have it your way, right?
There's the strikeout that he thought he had the last at bat. You got a big order for Burger King.
That's all I can afford.
if you had a broad brush and the goal was be as radical as you can be with regards to the way the game is played on the field, what would you do?
I would be aggressive about using the clock over the long haul. I think it's a helpful thing in terms of moving the game along. I think the second set of changes that I would look at is related, and that relates to injecting additional offense in the game. For example, things like eliminating shifts. I would be open to those sorts of ideas.
2015. Here we are in 2023, and those exact things that Rob Manfred, then the commissioner, brought up have now been implemented. You know, long time coming, but the idea that that was there 8 years ago.
Laid the groundwork, and it took that long. That's a great point and a great interview. And a lot of these issues have to be collectively bargained with the Players Association, at least to a certain extent, until he has the power to unilaterally impose new rules. There's a process, and he certainly went through it, and here we are.
And again, time will tell. We'll see where the reaction and the reception to these rule changes go. Right back up the middle off the glove, and it's fielded by the shortstop, and Ryan Ludus on the mound. Saw that one buzz the tower. Arauz is out at first base.
I'll tell you what, guys, I think these, so far, the 2-3 games, I'm going to include this one that I've seen, I like the rule changes. I like at least the clock. I think it's working really well. I'm still curious to find out in a close game, tight game, where at the major league level, that's a great delay of game strategy, by the way. Get the bullpen, throw the ball in, stop the clock, it resets again. But we're going to find out in the 9th inning, save opportunities, how that's going to affect a closer with a close game, a 1-run, 2-run, and save opportunity. Anything else open? I love the clock.
Eddie and I were having a conversation. Buster was involved with it, Coney. He suggested perhaps because the 8th and certainly the 9th inning are quote unquote different, that maybe you eliminate the clock in the 8th or 9th inning. And we roundly disagreed with that, if for no other reason that every other pitcher would wonder, well, why the 8th inning guy or the 9th inning guy?
Not everybody can be built to be a closer.
But the hitters are then used to the rhythm of the game and the pitch clock, and now we're changing that for all the hitters too.
But this is also pressure on the hitter in the 8th and 9th. I mean, how do you slow down the game? How do you slow down the heartbeat?
I think you learn to do that, don't you? I mean, just by doing it, you learn to do that.
I believe the purists in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the games used to go by quickly. So I'm all in on the game going by quickly, but even in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning of tight games in the 70s and 80s, the games slowed down a bit because you had the Goose Gossage on the mound, and all of a sudden he's looking to close out a game.
You remember the Mad Hungarian?
Oh,
Al Hrabosky. Remember the little act he had behind the mound?
Of course.
You know, Buck Showalter again brought up something about, you know, are they going to play the trumpet song now for Edwin Diaz? Is there going to be time for him to get in the game?
Center field, and they've talked a lot about Ludus being a very, very up-and-coming, potentially great young pitcher, and he was outstanding there. Ryan Ludus with a strong inning. Mid to high 80s here in Jupiter, Florida. Our spring training schedule continues this week. Grapefruit League game between the Stros and the Mets in Port St. Lucie at 1 Eastern time tomorrow. Tim Kirkson's ready for that game. He'll be on the call along with Jess Mendoza and Kevin Brown. And in order to prepare, Tim was here today to see the Mets, who he knows he's going to be calling tomorrow. Phillies and Red Sox on Thursday at noon Eastern time. We'll round out our week of spring training baseball. We dive into Champ Week, college basketball championships for the conferences. And our opener of Major League Baseball, Astros and White Sox. All right, let's have some fun here. 2023 Caesars Sportsbook. Mets 95 wins. Half game ahead of the Braves. Phillies 89. And that ball drops fair. Taylor Muller reaches again. All right, you got a thought on what you see on the screen here?
I'll take the over on the Phillies right there. That looks like the bet to be made right there.
I'll take the over on all three. Mets, Braves, and Phillies.
A more of a balanced schedule will matter, especially for the Eastern Division teams. They won't have to beat up on each other as much. You're going to have to play everybody. So, you know, generally speaking, I think the Central Division teams will be hurt by that.
Yep.
And the Eastern Division teams, and really the Dodgers in the West will benefit from.
And the Padres.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Philadelphia Phillies. I have Trey Turner as a top 3 MVP candidate now with the rule changes at shortstop in that ballpark, in the NL East ballparks. And now the NL Central, according to Caesars, has the Cardinals winning by 5. Runner goes. Not in time. Motter steals the bag.
I'll take the over on the Cardinals and the over on the Brewers.
Agreed. The Brewers seem a little light there. Definitely. The Cubs might surprise some people too. That's an interesting bet right in the middle. They've added a lot of pieces, sort of middling pieces, but going for a depth play there. And the Cubs played much better down the stretch last year.
Guys that have had success before who were not, with the exception really of Swanson, who was having great success, but they got a lot of guys who've been really good and were kind of having down parts to their career that they brought, and their defense should be way better in Chicago.
Oh, absolutely. Up the middle, they're really good. I mean, when you can put Cody Bellinger out in center field, running him down and get him on a 1-year deal, if he can have a strong start to the cold winter of Chicago, the cold first 2 months of Chicago, then I think it's going to turn out to be a really good season on the 1-year deal that he signed there.
Nico Horner, very good player. David Ross ready. Let's see, pitching's the question. Let's go around Major League Baseball. We're going to spend some time in Texas with the Astros and the Rangers. That's a team that could surprise you. I kind of like the way Texas has been constructed. Had a few years that they've been down, but they got all sorts of star power.
If you believe in all the predictive models that we talked about Billy Epler with earlier in our broadcast, the Rangers underachieved last year from a record standpoint. Their Pythagorean record was much higher, meaning the runs they scored and the runs they allowed, and the models based on that certainly would suggest they could win more.
Baker hits one high and deep to left field at the wall. A 3-run home run for Luken Baker.
Carl, why does it seem like I've heard that before? I mean, it is real power, easy power. And that ball was inside, and he was able to clear the hips, bring the hands in, and absolutely just barrel it, keeping it fair. Ball was inside. Watch the hips here as soon as he puts that foot down. Great use of the hands.
Somewhere Jim Schlossnagle is smiling very proudly.
You get a hanging curveball in the inner half of the plate, that's what you do with it.
How about Coney, you dropping Pythagorean on us too, Coney?
Yes. There you go.
That ball was at least a couple inches inside. It would have been called a ball. That's impressive right there.
The over and under in Texas is how many starts does Jacob deGrom get?
Yeah.
That will go a long way towards how they perform on the pitching side of things.
If I were to tell you 24.5, would you go over or under?
Boy, that's a tough one there. Boy, that's a good bet. Strong. Hey, you work in Vegas on the side? I see you at Caesar's Palace, definitely.
Wouldn't you be inclined to take the under given the last couple of years? Like, wouldn't that be your first inclination?
Yeah, that would be, absolutely. That
doesn't mean that's the right answer, but
I'll take the over.
That's fair.
I'll take the over on DeGrom.
Well, he kind of cleared the air. There was a recent interview he had done about sort of the departure from New York and some speculation like you were always getting out of there. You didn't want to be there. And he said that's hardly the case. And I really thought, at least he said, I thought I was going to be back in a Mets uniform. And then all of a sudden the Texas thing came up, and it came kind of quickly on him, and there was a lot of money there, and he thought that would be a more comfortable environment.
How about this? This is interesting because Yepez on that first pitch, on that last pitch, because it was way inside, got out of the bag, got out of the plate, and then Ryan Addison behind the home plate actually told the timer, do not start it yet. I'll tell you when. Last year, Yepez, with less than 2 strikes, would use the leg kick. When he got to 2 strikes, would not use the leg kick at all. Staying grounded here, 3-1.
Hooks one into the corner. That's going to get down. And after the Baker 3-run shot, the Cardinals bats keep rolling. A double for Juan Yepez.
Some guys just have a knack for barrel the bat to the ball skill sets, and this guy has always had it. Just a knack for doing that. Wherever the pitch is made, he gets the barrel of the bat on the ball.
Wide hands.
I think the other thing that you kind of take from the first few days of spring training, similar to the minor leagues when they first introduced these new rules, in line with number of quote-unquote violations, but the idea like that this is going to be a big obstacle to deal with doesn't feel like that's the case. And Showalter kind of warned everybody, when you get to the regular season, things will be a little different. Although today felt like a regular season game given all the pitching changes we had, but pump the brakes a little on the 2-hour and 32-minute games, at least in his mind, because of pitching changes, etc. But just strict adherence to the rules just doesn't feel like it's an overwhelming challenge for the players.
No, and the players will adjust, and they have to. They know they have to. They have no choice.
I think the most important part of all of this is, even though this isn't a 2-hour and 2-hour and 30-minute game, there's always been action in the game. There's always been something to see, a base steal, first to third. We've seen home runs, doubles, and it's not just a lot of dead time. And that's what Major League Baseball is trying to accomplish, and I believe it is accomplishing it.
Well, if you look at the numbers, and they don't lie, over the last 20 years, the time in between action, a ball in play, something happened, and has gone from 2.5 minutes to 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Somewhere in that range, give or take, and that's what's led to these rules.
It's interesting because I've seen this argument against these rules where the position is to the people that are in support of it. So you want to see less baseball, and the truth is you're not seeing less baseball, you're eliminating the parts of the game where nothing was happening. You're losing, in a sense, no baseball, as Buck Showalter's going to parade to the mound and make another pitching change.
And guys, before we go to break here, look, you have already 16 runs. You have 22 hits. You just have a couple walks here and there. And we still haven't gotten to the 3-hour mark. You know, we're around 2:45 game time.
Well, you just jinxed it, so.
Oh, yeah, great.
The announcer
4 outs
jinxed,
left. Yeah, 5 outs left.
I haven't sat down with the commissioner yet to do the next interview to see what 8 years from now will be. But you do wonder, like, what are the next adjustments that the game needs to make? I think I heard Buster raise his hand. Buster? Buster, you out there?
Yeah, so guys, I think the next thing to watch for is the version of the electronic strike zone that we're going to see.
Yeah.
You've got the challenge system, which is being used in half of the games in AAA this year. That has gained a lot of support in baseball, where you have teams basically liking the idea that each team going into each game will have 3 challenges of the the electronics or the home plate umpires' decisions using the electronic strike zone, because they feel like that by doing that you keep the catching position intact, that the nuances of the catching position, which have been refined by folks like Yadier Molina through the years, those remain, rather than having the catching position just become another offensive position. I think that's part of the reason why you're going to see at some point that challenge system with the electronic strike zone in the big leagues.
Will we ever get to a place, because it works really well in the world of tennis, when there is an appeal on a ball, whether it was in or out, and you see it on the screen? Will we ever get to a place where the people at home on television, and certainly the people in the stadium, when somebody appeals a call on a ball or strike, like a video game, it lights up on the scoreboard and everybody gets to watch together? Nope, that was a ball. You show the replay.
Absolutely. I think that's something fans would really love to see. So yes, to your question, absolutely. That would be a great thing to see when the technology's in place. And it probably already is.
Yep.
Ready. It's the question of implementing it.
Think about it. It's about the fan experience, right? And it's worked. It's worked in tennis.
I'll be honest, when we first brought up the concept of a pitch clock, I thought it would interest the fans, that the pitchers would get so close to that 8-second mark, if that's the line of demarcation, that they would sit there and count down. And I don't see that being an issue.
Well, it's easier said than done. If you're a pitcher, and we've heard Max Scherzer talk about it, and you mentioned it before, just to sit there and hold the ball for 9 or 10 seconds, it can mess your own rhythm up as well. It can become a distraction, in other words. If you're on the mound as a pitcher and you're watching the clock and you've got 12 seconds to go, and the hitter's standing there staring at you, and you just want to hold the ball for 12 seconds or down to 1 second, that's easier said than done. It's hard. You can freeze up yourself. You can disrupt your own rhythm.
Sweeper, ball 1. So yeah, Scherzer's one of these guys that seems to have thought about this in the offseason, and what's the best way as a pitcher that he can capitalize on it. In the game of cat and mouse, he wants to be the cat, and he was asked about that yesterday.
We've known this has been coming for a while, so kind of knew what this was going to look like, and knew, seeing how this is going to be implemented, and really the power that the pitcher has now. I mean, I can completely dictate pace. I mean, the rule change of the hitter only having 1 time out changes the complete dynamic of the hitter and pitcher dynamic. So, yeah, I love it.
He's a different cat, though. Not everybody's quite like him.
And he did it yesterday, though. First time, runner got to first base, he held the ball. And guess what? The Washington National hitter asked for time. Now the hitter was at his mercy.
Look, if you can essentially freeze the pitcher the way that you do kickers in the NFL, maybe that's what you do with your timeout. You wait to that 3-2 count and make the pitcher, disrupt the pitcher's rhythm.
We were talking with Steven Matz, who hasn't yet been involved in a game in which the pitch clock has been used. He's got a little toe tap, and there's some concern from some of the pitchers, like how the umpire defines starting a delivery, as opposed to this is sort of pre-delivery routine. Pages swings and misses. The Mets will come off the field, but 3 more runs for the Cardinals. Let's go to the 9th. Mets need a rally. Down 8. Big rally. lot of folks looking at Kyle Tucker as an MVP candidate. The Chicago White Sox and the Houston Astros opening night, March 30th, 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. That is opening night. Balanced schedule, new rules. Usually it's like 6-7 teams going into the season. Chance to win a World Series. Of course, Major League Baseball would like to see that dramatically change. You said a whole bunch. What do you think?
Well, I think last year, because of expanded playoffs and the format that was changed, allowed the Phillies to get in with 86 wins and then ran that all the way to the World Series.
Cardinals know about 80-plus wins in World Series.
Yes, they do.
The whole idea is to try, right?
Yes.
We want everybody to try.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Angels. You got Shohei Ohtani. You have the expanded playoffs, and will they, if they're in it somewhat, will he still be an Angel at the end of the year, or do they end up trading him knowing that he's going to end up being a free agent after the season?
And this is a question a lot of people ask. What's that contract look like?
Wow. You know, Artie Moreno was trying to sell the team. Now he's back in it. So
deep drive center field off the bat of William Lugo, and we will watch that one go deep and over the wall for a home run. William Lugo, first of the spring for the Mets. That didn't take long.
About the exit velocity on that one, distance 436 for Lugo. We mentioned Ohtani, and immediately we see something hit hard. Good extension by Lugo.
Some speed through the zone.
You got to take advantage of these moments late in games. You get an opportunity, and that's what Beatty's about to do right here.
Parsons just showed, perhaps watching Adam Wainwright and others pitch, that curveball was filthy. What do you guys make of the Machado decision, and the Padres, I should say, real decision to say, sure, we'll extend a guy that's let us know he's opting out. Preemptively, I'm opting out, and they quickly said, no, we'd like to keep you here.
Great time to be a San Diego Padre fan. Great ownership. You got to feel, I mean, you know, that's the thing. We saw it last year with the Juan Soto trade. Padres fans are around the block buying season tickets already after that trade. They've got some tremendous momentum there. It's a momentum play on the ownership spaces out there, and you got to love it. You got to watch them and say, you know what? They're trying to slay the dragon. They did beat the Dodgers last year in the playoffs. They didn't complete the task. They're on a mission.
Feels like they may be a bigger dragon right now.
That's right.
They may be a bigger dragon.
Just think about the loyalty here, because we're dealing with the Cardinals and Nolan Arenado not opting out of his deal, staying with the Cardinals. Machado saying, look, I'm going to opt out. Next thing you know, he gets that 11-year deal. How much did Nolan Arenado leave on the table to stay a Cardinal? I mean, that could probably have been the biggest move the Cardinals had made, and it was Nolan Arenado's decision to make it. To stay.
And to, you know, again, this is always the individual and where they're comfortable and how much money is enough money. And I don't think anybody would argue that the money that Nolan Arenado is making is several generations of life-changing money. Like, that's never going to be a problem. Could he? And does he have any regrets about not getting more? He says, no, I made that call. That was my decision.
And then we talk about those two veterans making those decisions, and we have one of the Mets' top prospects showing his ability of going the other way, allowing the ball to get deep, and most likely Beatty could be manning third base if he continues to rake early on in the season.
Keith Hernandez, who covers the Mets, longtime great player, loves Beatty's swing.
That one is hammered to right center field, and this one also over the wall. Ronnie Mauricio.
2 days in a row.
Big blast.
Mets fans, they saw this yesterday in Port St. Lucie. It was impressive. He enjoyed all of it and gets to do it again, and this time runs the bases just like Buck Showalter likes. I mean, this is a line drive shot right center field.
Goodness gracious, what a swing.
Real.
Coming off a big winter ball season, too, in the Dominican. Had a great postseason down there, great season. Coming into spring training with a lot of confidence.
There's something about winter ball when you're trying to impress. In spring training, you come in ready, bat speed's there, you don't have to worry about the velo the pitchers are giving you.
It's a name to watch right there.
Well, it's just so great because, you know, the outcome of the game doesn't matter. It's, you know, you're down 12-4 when the inning starts, and yet you're making an impression. You could tell when he touched home and he came in, that was an important at bat for him. Really, really impressive to stay focused. Then you get a high five from the guy that may be your manager. I mean, that's a good moment for a young player.
Absolutely.
Finish it off.
And these are the things that the coaches do not forget.
Yeah.
You know, all what you did in spring training, if you do get sent down, because the reality is, as they say in Spanish, no hay cama para tanta gente, there's just not a lot of room in bed for so many people. And in this case, the 26-man roster. Then Buck Showalter and the rest of the staff, they'll remember what Mauricio did and how he did it.
Love that. Not a lot of room in bed, huh?
Yeah, no hay cama para tanta gente.
Love that.
The Astros Mets tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time as Hayden Sanger steps in. Ed Svita is back with us, and he has slipped the note that says we're still under 3 hours for now. 2 hours and 58 minutes.
Now it's not on me, it's on Svita. I'm off the hook.
He did. Saved you.
How do you not love the spring training fan who's here, who just wants to see not only the team play, but the team win? That's beautiful. Nope. CB Bucknor down there at first base said no. Not so fast.
Penny for your thoughts.
Put a little bit more sunblock on. We're here for a while. Did Spida ruin it?
Well, if you had 3 hours and the under, this is the only pitch that matters. Oh, you just snuck under the clock. A tidy 2 hour and 59-minute game as Parsons gets the strikeout to end it.
Carl, 19 runs. 19 runs under 3 hours. Major League Baseball is accomplishing something with this.
A lot of good young players on the field today, coming up big.
25 hits. Great start. Thanks to all those that joined us during the telecast. For Buster Olney, Eduardo Perez, David Cohn, I'm Carl Ravitch, our entire crew. Enjoy the game tomorrow. NFL Live is next.